The Michael Waddell podcast is presented by Spandau Arms in partnership with Folds of Honor and Cigars International. Be sure to like and subscribe anywhere you get your podcasts.
I love getting reactions out of people, making people laugh. But the biggest thing is when you can be relatable. That's what I always want to do. I always just be true to myself and be relatable. Because when you meet those people in public, like probably the number one comment I get is, you know, my daddy was just like yours.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep, exactly. Trent Ellis, I'm so excited about you being here, buddy. Thanks so much for being here.
Me too. Thank y'all for having me.
Oh, anytime, man. I had a chance to sit down with the Hayden, Alabama guys, and it's funny, man. I'm a fan of social media. I'm a fan of stuff on YouTube. And so immediately I started seeing your stuff on social media, and dude, I started laughing my butt off because obviously one is I could tell you as a hunter, I could tell we come from seemed like the same neck of the woods, and the things that you were dealing with, like that scene when you were sitting there and you was trying to ask your wife, that was one of the first videos I saw, and you're there shaking, like you're trying to, hey, honey, thinking about going this weekend, you're trying to get the nerve. And I thought, dude, and after that, I started following and looking and watching. And so anyway, but congratulations on all your success, man.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I definitely think when you've got a grandfather or had a grandfather that would burn rent houses for, just spite, because they rented them. You know what I'm saying? Like, it wasn't like he owned them. It's like the way Papa looked at it was like, if you're going to kick us out, we're going to be the last family you kick out of this house. And if you got that running in your blood, you kind of born for social media in a sense. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah. No, and Papa was like, you might evict me, but you won't evict nobody else out of this house.
That's exactly
I'll
right.
just burn it down.
Yeah, Daddy said one time he was, Papa was sitting on the front porch, and Daddy was in the yard playing, and a repo man came up, and Daddy didn't know it was a repo man, but he came up and hooked up to their car and started to go off, and Daddy turned around, and he was like, Daddy, what? You just going to let him take the car? And he said he took a sip of beer and said, looks like he wants it more than we do.
See, that's how I knew I immediately, they always say don't judge a book by its cover, and you can't tell much about everything that's going on as far as AI. But immediately, actually, Cohen Stone and Ryan Wakenig, they had both, there was a couple of videos where you had made a comment and called my name, and I went back and looked and I laughed, and I'd already seen the one about that. But then I got to thinking, even now, you telling that first story about the repo, my father told me a story. My dad, he said, they didn't get much for Christmas. He said he knew, I asked him how long he believed in Santa Claus. He said, I believed into him until I was about 10. And I said, why'd you stop believing? He said, because Santa Claus brought me and my brother a bike for Christmas. He said in December, he said, and then at about the end of January, he said Western Auto come and repoed our bike. We was out there changing the tire on one of them. He said, and my dad was out there like, well, boy, sometimes Santa Claus has to take things back. And I guess his dad didn't pay the bill on them bikes. So you saw
He's like, that's not Santa, that's Larry. What are you talking about?
Santa Claus would not repo my bike. And he said, well, I said, what'd you say, Dad? He said, well, I was just glad we got to enjoy it for a month. He said, we had a good time for a month on them bikes. So
my Santa Claus story, man, that was a heck of a morning. I was 9 years old, and I got to hear about the birds and the bees, Santa Claus and the Tooth Fairy all in one morning on a 6-minute drive to school.
So they broke it all to you.
Oh, dude. Yeah, because the day before, it was not the day before, but it was right after Christmas. And my dad and brother were bringing in 2 little bitty gun safes. Uh-huh. And I come out of my room, and I saw, he's like, go back to bed. So I knew something was up. And
what's up with this?
Yeah. So about a month later, he brings me outside, and it's about 6:45. Of course, we got a 6-minute drive to school, so we need to leave the house at 7 so we can be there at, well before 8. Yeah. That's how my daddy is. But anyway, he just felt the need that I need to tell Trent everything right now, because it was the birds and bees, which was the most like, this is what this is, son. It's when a man takes his and puts it in a woman's. That's it. Any questions? I'm like, no, sir. And then he's like, oh, yeah, Santa Claus ain't real. And I'm like, okay. So then about halfway to school, he's sitting there. He just Daddy ain't smoked in 20 years, but during this time, it was like the best stories come from when he was smoking.
Yes.
He was just sitting there smoking an old GMC, had the window crack, and I'm riding right in the middle, and my older brother's in the passenger seat, and he's sitting there and smoking. He's like, oh, yeah. Tooth fairy ain't real neither. So next tooth you lose, you ain't getting nothing for it. And just kept going.
So he went in and broke down.
He's like, look, we're going to hold a meeting for everything, knock it all out today, and get it over with.
Almost like a testimony at a Baptist church. Once you go ahead and admit that sin, you might as well talk about them all.
Let's air everything out.
And
that's
you're like,
right.
Dad, that's enough. Stop.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, man. I was very uncomfortable for about 3 more hours until lunchtime at school. I was just sitting there thinking about all the words that had come out of his mouth in the last 2 hours.
It is a funny perspective when you think about it. Like, what's the one thing we always tell our kids? Be honest. Stand up and do what's right. Don't lie. I mean, I've always told my whole life, but yet if you think about it, we do a bunch of storytelling all across this country to our kids and stuff. I mean, who would think the Easter Bunny? I hope I'm not ruining it for some kid out there now. They're probably listening, but I don't think we got a lot of young people. Most of our people that would be listening already know.
Yeah. Well, there's better things out there than the Easter Bunny, buddy.
Yeah,
believe in God. Okay?
Believe in
there
God. Exactly. That's
there
a real story.
That's right.
Well, Trent, how did you get started in all this, man? Dude, it's amazing how it feels like several years, man. It's just like your comedy and the skits, what you do on YouTube, and how the down to earth, but yet everybody seems it's kind of like when Jeff Foxworthy come out. You might be a redneck, and I feel like that's the same type thing. But dude, you're right there. You're getting closer and closer to 1 million followers on Instagram. You're just crushing it over on YouTube, and even going to the restaurant. It has a ton of people recognize you in there. And it's all country folks. I think the cool thing is you're probably safe in LA, but you go to a country town, everybody, the people that would hear your humor, they're like, what's up, Trent? You can be anywhere. So that's got to feel cool. And what was your idea? How did you even get creative to think of that?
Honestly, I started in finance in 2020, and when we bought our house in 2022, we were doing okay. We had been, me and my wife, I mean, back 2 years prior in 2020, at one point we had $253 in my checking account, and I had to sell a golf club, a few pairs of shoes, some Wild Edge steps on Facebook Marketplace just so I could put gas in my truck for the next 3 weeks to go sell insurance. And so we were very familiar with what being broke and living paycheck to paycheck was.
Right.
And so fast forward a couple of years, we're doing okay.
Now you're working in finance, like at a bank, you said? Or?
No, I was doing my own thing. I was working with Primerica Financial Services.
Okay.
They were my broker dealer, but I was in 21, I got investment licensed, and then I was an independent contractor.
I got you.
So
okay.
Let me take that back. I was not an employee of Primerica, but I was, cause I got a 1099 from them, but it was like they were the broker dealer that looked over my licenses. That would be responsible for me if I did something shady.
I got
But
you.
my time was my own. If I wanted to go out and make money and help people, I could do that. If I wanted to stay at home and be broke, I could do that. It didn't matter. But so it was one. I got into it originally because I went for an interview. At the time, I was working at a gun shop, making $1,000 a month, and somebody that was working with him, I helped on the range that day.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, dude, you got a good personality. He's like, you ever thought about making extra money? So I went in and interviewed with now one of my best friends, Desmond Martin, who's still in the business full time. And he's like, hey, look, I can show you how to hunt 5 days a week or keep you in the woods and make more than what you're making right now,
Mm-hmm.
ethically.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, well, sign me up. Let's give it a shot. So fast forward, my dad's always been real big into investing,
Mm-hmm.
with a little bit of trading, but a lot of, long-term investing. So I was always kind of a little bit privy to it.
Save your money, invest in certain
Daddy's biggest thing was, if you're going to have something, you live below your means.
Right.
Do it for a long period of time, you'll have something. But invest in the S&P, all that kind of stuff. And so when I found out I could get investment license, and then I could start really handling big money and making bigger money and stuff like that, I got my Series 6, 63, and 26 license to do mutual fund investments.
Wow. Yeah.
So I did that in 21 with them. And in 21, my wife got pregnant with our son. 22, right, like,
There went
on our
living below your
anniversary.
means. They went living below your means.
That's it. That's it. That's it. No, that was when I married a woman from Washington State. I love you, baby. I'm just kidding. But in 22, right before she had our son, on our anniversary, June 3rd, 2022, we closed on our house. And we moved about an hour and a half north of where we were in Starkville, which is where I started in the business and everything, and had a lot of clients and everything like that. Well, that year we kind of carried pretty decent. And then the next year I was like, you know what? I'm going to go and I'm going to get these school districts. I'm going to go do a 403B for somebody, which is just a retirement account for preachers, teachers, and nurses. And so I'm doing that, and I am burning the rubber. I mean, I am burning the road up all over North Mississippi. And every superintendent I sit down with, you can tell they are being as political and as nice as possible, just listening to me and nodding. And I'm like, this is going nowhere.
You could almost tell, like,
immediately,
not getting anywhere.
Immediately. And so the summer of 23, things really started slowing down financially because I was making a little bit of money residually and loved what I did, but I was making a little bit of money residually, building up my book and stuff like that with investments, but it wasn't enough to pay the bills.
Right.
And I just so happened to be on Facebook one day scrolling, and I saw Justin Nunley. And here's the thing that caught my attention was I had just seen his stuff about 2 months prior. Never knew the guy existed until about 2 months prior to that. Well, I'm at a school, and none of these teachers are coming by to talk to me. The only one that came by to talk to me had been bankrupt twice, and she said, "How can I be a millionaire?" And I'm like, you can't. Okay? Not with your mentality.
Yeah, exactly.
And so I'm sitting there, and I'm going through that, and I see Justin on this podcast, and he's talking about making good money doing reels. And I hate that everything, that I'm saying right now is about money, but I'm just being real with you.
Right.
He said what he was making and everything, and I was like, I just found out who this guy was 2 months ago. He's not the most famous person in the world. He's funny, and he's got great content, but that showed me right there that you can make a good living off social media and not be Joe Rogan.
Right.
Or a Michael Waddell. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? For my good living. For that to be for me, that amount that I'm talking about. And, which I think at the time, Nunley said he was averaging about $25,000 a month. I was like,
That's big money.
my first year in Primerica, I made $19,000. So, I mean, I was like, that'll do.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and I started thinking about it right then. I thought, I've got a harebrain. Okay. It's just random stuff that comes up here all the time. I've got funny stories from childhood, which a lot of my content is my childhood.
Just that blue collar living.
That strict dad
Stuff you
that
talk
jerk
about
a
your dad.
knot in your tail in a second, And so I thought, why don't I try to make some videos that's relatable to Southern humor, to outdoor stuff? Like, I know there's a ton of, humor in just going to deer camp.
Yes.
That's all it is. Nobody's sitting around like having serious conversation. It's everybody's kicked back, telling stories, telling things that you couldn't put on camera, all this kind of stuff. And it's like, why don't I always love to be funny. Why don't I try that? Because the worst thing that can happen is that 5 people watch it, and 5 months from now, I'm like, this ain't for me.
It ain't gonna hurt nothing to give it a shot, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So, and Primerica really, really helped me develop, that thick skin, that drive of just, know his next opportunity, because I was able to not survive, but I was doing pretty well with the company. And every bit of business I got was from me. They didn't give you nothing. They gave you, they say, we'll give you the tools to succeed. We'll help you get the licenses, but it's going to be on you to go out there and get it. And so learning that over the last 3 years at that time, I was like, if the worst thing that can happen, I have no overhead with this, and the worst thing that can happen is I don't make any money and get any views, like, so be it. And I told my wife, I said, I'm going to download TikTok and I'm going to start posting 2 videos a day. I'm going to do it for 7 days. And if I don't hate it, I'm just not going to quit.
Right.
And I don't have a set time that I'm going to do this. I'm just not going to focus on that. If I don't hate it, but if I hate it in 7 days, I'm done.
See what happens.
See what happens.
Yeah.
And dude, from the first video I put out, it was crap. You can go on TikTok right now and Facebook and see it, but it was fun.
You made yourself laugh. Essentially. Yeah. It was fun.
Yeah. I enjoyed it. And about 3 weeks later, I was starting to make videos of Southern phone calls. You know how you'll get on the phone and you'll be like,
oh yeah,
what's going on? You're saying nothing. You
right.
know? Yeah. All right. Well, okay. So yeah. All right. And I was just doing that back and forth. Timing was terrible. Editing was terrible. But I was over at my uncle's house and a buddy of his was like, Trent, dude, that video you did about the phone calls, man, that's us. That's so hilarious. And that one bit of just encouragement and seeing that somebody really enjoyed it was enough for me to be like, I'm going to put my foot on the gas.
Let's go.
And then I just started, I just started going and trying to put up more and more videos. Nunley, actually, at that time, I'd reached out to him on Instagram, wrote him a message. He didn't know who I was or anything, but by the grace of God, he read it, and I was asking for advice. Well, he FaceTimes me on Instagram. One and only time I've ever talked to him, and he told me about the hook. And he was like, man, I think your videos are good. You got something, but you just need to work on your first 3 seconds. And from there, I used that. And then I met people like Aaron Breesocker with Digital Taxidermy. He's in the industry too, and he's a very big name. He does a lot of reels and stuff. Talking to Aaron a lot about, he's a very big data guy, so he knows
he understood a lot of the analytics.
Oh yeah. I was never looking at any analytics.
Right.
And Aaron would be like, well, all right, well, go back to, through your videos and see what works and try to replicate them, do them again. Just not the same video, but if this style of a hook works, use that. So I've known Aaron now. We've gotten pretty tight over the last 2 years, and we probably talk every week. Me and him and Corey, the Monarch Hunting Blind.
Yeah.
We're all really, really good friends and just run ideas off each other. That's helped a lot. When you find somebody in the same industry that you're all trying to get towards the same kind of goal, I guess. Yeah. You can piggyback off one another and talk about ideas and stuff like that. But yeah, man, it was one of those things that I never, ever, ever thought that we would be where we are, and we're not making $1 million a year, nothing like that. But, I've told you before when we FaceTime, I remember seeing you for the first time, the very first video I saw, and I might be misquoting this a little bit, but you were hunting somewhere, bow hunting, and a coyote came out. You started, and of course, back then I was used to the DVDs and even some of the VHS hunts and everything's perfect and there's not much emotion going on. And here's this guy that's definitely from the South, and I was a little kid. I was 5, 6, 7 year old, had to be, and here you are, you're smoking a coyote, and you're like, we come out here to deer hunt, but today we're predator hunting. And
right.
I'm like, I like that, dude. So when you commented on that video on Facebook, when I mentioned you or whatever, I never would have dreamed that, we'd be doing a podcast or anybody would even know my name. I just thought maybe if I can do enough to help pay the bills or whatever the case a little bit, that'd be great. But, thank God when all those videos, when I first started, didn't blow up, that I didn't quit. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So,
but you had so many good ones that did blow up, and it's amazing too when you think about that. Talking about Nunley, and you're talking about all these people that you kind of saw and kind of understood what they were doing, and vice versa. Even from the first time I saw your videos, it's amazing how in the world we live today, there's so much talent that is being found. You hear people say, "Oh man, social media this, social media that." And obviously you can see the good and bad of everything. Even in the comment section, we was laughing. We had lunch earlier. Yeah. We were just talking about, some of the comments you see on things. It's amazing that some people that either don't have that certain dry humor or understand it, or they taking things literal, or if it's something simple as a hunting video, because I know you a diehard hunter and you're doing some hunting videos too and doing a lot of that, and how, you know, it's always somebody's first reaction could be the negative. That is the negative of the social media.
Yeah.
I don't really get mad about it. I kind of, in one way, I feel sorry for the people, but then I find myself getting entertained by the negative too at times, because I'm thinking, man, it's just, where's this coming from? But at the same time, what I do like about it, it's almost like birds of a feather flock together. And it's amazing how your humor and what you were putting out there, just from where you was raised and what you grew up, what we found funny, was the same as that thing. I call it, man, we're shit kickers, for lack of a better word. You know, just like if you grow up in the South, or no matter really across the country, if you don't have some type of quick wit and understand how to handle sarcasm and to give it back, then it's going to be a rough, depressing life. But then you start finding that those are the best times in hunting camp, or, you know, like the stuff you do about how hunters really feel about trying to get out on the weekend to hunt, and how we go about it. And that was the first thing that hit me, is because, you know, now we're in a place in this hunting industry world to where, oh man, he's got to be 5.5. And, you know, I try to hunt 5-6 days a week. In the meantime, I'm thinking, I grew up around people that literally hung sheetrock if they got to hunt a Saturday. One Saturday in between ball practice, that was a big deal. And immediately when I saw your videos, you could tell you understood what the average man, because you was going through it. You was raising kids. You was wanting to go turkey hunting on a Saturday, or go to the Dove Field and go watch the first opening weekend of football and SEC over there. But like, well, you know, we're going to Mama's, you know, or, you know, you said after church, we're going to Shoney's and we're going to eat the buffet.
R.I.P. Shoney's.
I know, I do too, man. I cry when I see pictures of the big boy.
Every time I go by one and it's shut down, I'm like, dang.
I feel like we both have family portraits standing in front of probably the Shoney's big boy. Like that was something that was hung on the staircase in our homes, probably.
Yeah.
That's how much I felt like I knew you when I saw your videos.
Well, when you talk about perspective, you know, I've done like a lot of the jobs. I've never roofed for a living or anything like that, but you know, I've welded. I welded in high school for 3 years, but a lot of times all throughout any kind of Thanksgiving or Christmas break and after school. You know, I did a lot of TIG welding and helped build a barn at the ag shop, learning how to MIG weld, cut metal. You know, I broke horses. You know, I started off working at my dad's grocery store when I was 9, and then did the welding and the breaking horses and all these other kind of jobs, and joined the military. And so I know what hard work is. And that's where I keep telling myself, it took me a long time up until recently. I've been doing social media now for a couple of years. And up until recently did I get to the place to where comments on social media would not bother me as much, because what I think about is, first of all, I was raised by my parents that, you know, at any point in time, God can take it away from you. So you better be respectful. You know, you better honor him and respect him. But secondly is that, you know, what you're talking about, these people that are commenting or whatever they're saying, whether it's good or bad, is these are blue collar folks, people that are having to work a 9 to 5, whatever the case. And, you know, I'm sitting over here making decent money, doing what I want to do. I got into this to make extra money, but so I could go out and hunt. You know what I'm saying? So I'm doing a podcast at Michael Waddell's right now, and I've got some messages that say some hateful things. That's the nature of the business. I could be roofing houses.
That's,
you know what I'm saying? I could be doing so many other things. I could be living for Friday, hating Sunday, because I'm fisting to be on Monday again. You know what I'm saying? So I look at it like that's the nature of the business. Is, you know, if you get big enough, it don't matter if you build a channel feeding kids in Africa, you're going to have haters. You're going to have people that say terrible things about you, your kids, your wife, all that kind of stuff. I got to be a man enough to say, hey, I got a dang good life. All right. If bad comments is the worst thing that I have to deal with, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
You imagine telling people that built skyscrapers in New York City in the early 1900s, the money we make and for what we do, and then start complaining about people talking bad about us. You imagine what they'd say? Probably wouldn't say much, probably rear back and give you one.
I agree. As a matter of fact, you know, some of those tough jobs you were talking about, like I remember working on my dad's construction crew. And the first time I did overhead sheetrock and trying to, putty a joint and put tape on and just get them kick boards up there to get that sheetrock up. And I remember how aggravated and depressed and mad I was doing it. And if social media had been around and I'd have seen your video, I would have probably been the first. Must be nice, funny boy.
Yeah.
I would
Get
have
a real job.
If I'd have seen my own self hunting a turkey, and like, hey, man, you ought to try this new double reed magician combo cut. This right here, put them on. I would hate myself. So I think it's all in perspective of where is this person making a comment. Maybe he stopped and eating a peanut butter and jelly sandwich after wrestling sheetrock all day. I can understand. But I also relate to that because I think you and I both come from that same cloth. And so I can't say that I won't dish out some sarcasm back and forth and do get frustrated sometimes I don't ever get aggravated at a guy I think that's hanging sheetrock. I'm more mad at the ones
It's not the blue collar ones.
It's not the blue collar ones because
I
I almost want to call them like, hey, bro.
Who pays your phone bill? Because it ain't you.
Yes. If you're sitting in your mama's basement eating Hot Pockets and your mom's got you AT&T and you're in there yelling like Will Ferrell meatloaf or something because, your mom said you went over your data limit. Now I'm mad at you. Meatloaf. I don't like you. I don't like you. If you run around mad at somebody reaping a turkey and you hunt more than I do and you're just mad that somebody else might get to hunt and you just don't like the way they do it as you're living on mom's credit card or dad's whatever. Now that guy I don't respect as much, but I meet some hard-working guys, and I know you two. We was at NWTF, and I got a chance to say, hey, and man, you was getting stopped, and people like, Trent, and this old big brawny. And I don't know about you, but man, I just have so much respect when it's not any in any gay form, but when I got a big old brawny man with callous hands and shakes your hand, and you give him that old man hug, I'm thinking. That's when it hits me. I thank God, like, man, thank you, Jesus, for giving me this opportunity. I know every time how lucky I am to do that. And I think that resonates fully with you and your skits. And dude, I've got so much, there's never a time, how the algorithm get going, but I'll see it. And then so many times our guys are sharing like, look at this, what Trent just posted. And we're laughing. I was telling you, I got so tickled because I could relate to it when you had the one. And at first it hit me when you're like sitting alone. You're like, man, my wife left me all alone and with the kids. And at first it immediately hit me like, oh my God, I just wanted to line up Trent for the podcast. And like his wife left him. And literally I thought all that within about 3 or 4 seconds. And then I caught the fact that just like me, my wife goes to get her nails did like, hey, you're here now. Make sure I got a sick chicken in the laundry room and pick Waylon up at school and don't let him get in the pantry. And I'm all alone with all these things that don't seem that much of a chore. And I laugh so hard. I'm thinking, oh my God, she did left you home with the chores of the lady,
I did one guy bad. Look, the guy that met me at NWTF, one of y'all, and you came up to me and you apologized for my wife leaving me and you told me it was going to be okay. I did lead you on and I said, I appreciate it. We'll be fine. Thank you. She didn't leave me, okay? But I left him at it because, man, he was sincere, and I was like, bro, I appreciate it.
You do one heck of a job of not – I feel like if I do something like that, I always kind of got to let the bag known. But you'll close it out, and you just got to figure it out and discern it like, I think that was a joke.
Yeah. Because that's part of the joke right there, just the uncertainty with people.
You're sitting around, you're like, man, I think he was just – alone.
Yeah. Like my best humor for myself is when the audience does that. They're like, is he joking? Is that real?
Should we pray for him? Should we
I don't know. Is it a joke? I don't know.
We got to add Trent to you're probably on a prayer list at some Southern Baptist church. Trent's wife just left him right now.
I'm sure. I'm sure. Y'all can keep praying because, it might happen eventually, but I can tell you, just like the old saying, if she leaves, I'm going with her.
That's right.
So.
You ain't leaving me, woman.
That's right.
You dang right. Well, man, it's cool, man. Congratulations on all your success. And so you grew up right there in Mississippi. So
blue
collar,
Yeah.
Old Southern roots, cheese grit, eating collard green, fried chicken. I'm just assuming all these things, but I feel like I got it.
Nah, you didn't get the collard greens. I didn't get that. But
you didn't get the collard greens?
No.
I think I mentioned collard greens more than anybody that's on air because I'm just always looking for brothers who eat, collard greens.
Yeah, I mean, you eat spam too, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's country.
Vine the sausage.
Do you cook it?
Yeah, I do fry the spam.
Well,
now, I don't do it as much as I used to because my wife, even though we're not too far apart in age, everybody's on this, speaking of social media, tries to be on this health kick.
Yeah.
As we just, ate our weight in fried chicken and French fries and cheeseburgers just now for lunch. So
don't regret a thing either.
I will get on a kick to where I'm like, I should eat a little more healthy. And then I fail miserably every day. And so yeah, the spam and like the potted meat, I still love it. And I still eat it a lot with my dad, who you met when we come in.
Yeah.
I mean, we can stop and be working hard and just sit down and get a pack of crackers, saltines and hot sauce and potted meat, vine of sausage and some hoop cheese. And I'm in business, son. I'm in business.
That's rough. That's rough. You got money now, Michael. You ain't got to eat stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Like that's like spam and vein or sausages. That's rough right there, Bubba.
I know it. And that's how, what I learned is like, you're right. I have finally got to the place where, I can go buy me a nice cut of steak, or something. But I laugh too. That's another thing that cracks me up on social media. You'll see these folks, running and staying in a tent out there hunting. And I'm like, dude, there's a Motel 6.
Yeah.
10 minutes down the road. You ain't got to eat Mountain House. Once you run by the freaking Hardee's down there.
Yeah.
Waffle House right down the road. I'm quicker to go fix up the camp house and prime the pump and get the foot valve in the well. And, I've even known to I had one house we stayed in Texas one time. They were all going to put tents out. And we was going to camp and go hunt turkeys. And me and my buddies, first time we got to looking around. And sure enough, we got the well working. And I remember there was all kind of sulfur come out of there. And before it was over, I just graduated heating and air school, and I got the air conditioner working in this house. And we were sitting there in Texas. Now, there was rats all in there, but to me, it was better than the tent.
It's better than the
tent.
tent.
I think that's how you define true redneck is like, why am I going to stay in a cot and build a fort when there's a house? I just got to get everything working. It's kind of like, why get out the mule and plow the field when there's old Massey Ferguson if we just get this carburetor tuned right and some clean diesel, so.
Well, the only time I go to the tent or the truck is when there's one bed and two men.
That's.
I slept nut to butt plenty of times with a fella in the Marines in a tent, and I swore once I got out, I would never do that again. So I ain't sharing a bed with another man. I will sleep on the ground outside by myself if there's one bed and there's two of us. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, absolutely.
So, but yeah, I'm not the type that I don't need to prove to myself. I ain't the toughest guy in the world anyway. So I'm not going in the mountains and going to camp for 10 days just to show you that I'm a man.
No,
I go out there and ride four-wheelers and hunt and all that kind of stuff. I'd love to do that. But like you said, as long as it's a Motel 6 that doesn't have bed bugs in it right there.
I agree.
Let's stay there.
I agree.
Let's spend $70 a night and stay there.
Why not? I'm the same way because I learned a long time ago. I used to think pride was a good thing. I really did. It's like, man, have pride in yourself. Then I started really, I think a lot of it was just, understanding the good Lord's word and realizing, man, this pride thing ain't that good. So I don't hunt with pride. I don't pack an elk out in pride. If I'm doing anything that looks really hard, it's because I didn't have any other choice. I'm like, I'll walk through the briar patch, but I'm also like the deer. Somebody doesn't mow the path, I'll walk down the mowed path.
Well, that's like I told you, that last YouTube video of me turkey hunting that I uploaded.
Uh-huh.
Well, that last one, the boy I was with, my buddy Corey, they got a channel called Prestige Outdoors. They're out in South Dakota. And they had me out there hunting with them. Well, that last bird I had my shotgun in the front seat. We was on property. We was on, property we was supposed to be on. And we was coming through the cow pasture, and we see this, this beautiful, it's all on this part ain't on there, but we see this beautiful strutter. He's up there, and he's just on top of a hill, and he's just turning. Just beautiful.
Yeah.
And Corey's like, well, what do you want to do? I said, I'll tell you what, Corey, you drive that truck up there right below him. He's going to hop on the other side of that hill right there, and I'm going to jump out, and I'm going to kill him. And he said,
yep.
You going to film that? He said, you sure you? I'm like, just drive up there and do it. And buddy,
yeah,
that's exactly what you see in the video.
I love that.
But I love
it.
And the reason I do that is because that's who I am that's who I am. If the camera was not going, that's exactly who I'd be. You know, so that's why I try to film that too, is because I know I'm going to get hammered by the true turkey hunters out there that don't shoot turkeys over 25 yards, that don't do that. But I also know that there are boys that work on every day except Saturday, that if it's in South Dakota and they had one more tag and a bird up there and they could jump out of a truck and run over a hill and shoot him, that's exactly what they'd do. So they're going to watch that and say, heck yeah.
And
that's
you know
awesome.
what? You're right.
Yeah.
You're exactly right. And like I said, I'm not knocking a purist. I'm not knocking a guy who says, okay, I got to yelp him in with a hickory leaf or, you know, a wing bone that, you know, Quanah Parker made out of the Comanche Indian tribe back out of Texas somewhere that he found or bought at some, you know, antique mall. I'm all about that. I can see where that could be fun and a challenge. But you're right. What's the number one comment that you get that's positive? You know, like where you're at now versus where you're then. The biggest comment you get, man, like, Trent, I appreciate you never lost your roots. I get that all the time. Waddell, I appreciate your videos, man. You look like you never let none of this go to your head. And you look like you cut up and still enjoy it like you did. Yeah. But I'm still that guy because you don't leave your roots. I mean, I remember getting up and literally failing out of high school, not because, well, first of all, I wasn't a good student. I wasn't smart. I struggled in every subject other than maybe PE, and I enjoyed history, which most men do. Yep. But at the end of the day, I would get to school every day at 9:30 during the spring because I turkey hunted every day. I couldn't have bought a turkey, in my 9th and 10th grade year. I couldn't have bought one at Piggly Wiggly on sale, like with a credit card with no limit. And so I would have done anything legal. And actually, you think about some other things that ain't so perfect because your desire to get one. And so once I started figuring it out, it wasn't like I was going rogue and just doing dumb stuff, but I know how hard it was on a schedule trying to get to school. And then, you had a Saturday, a Sunday, and then all of a sudden the sport's growing. Everybody's out on that same little old Meade or Georgia Power ground chasing the same turkey, and you hear one turkey gobble and there's 17 yelpers around you. And then all of a sudden the turkey goes quiet and you think, what did I do? And then you see,
you see somebody get
two
up.
of your buddies walking up in some old military camouflage. Like, you see that turkey? Like, no, you didn't either. I think you spooked him. Should we go to the Waffle House? Nobody's getting a turkey. I don't care if you got him 25 yards, reaped him, shot him with a 30-06. Nobody's killing that turkey. He might come back in May. And it's March 15th, and so if you grow up that way, when I finally got a chance to start doing this, it's like, I'd heard the comment a couple times. It was a couple years ago, maybe even last year, the theme of NWTF. I don't know if you heard this, but it was on social media. Let them win. Did you ever hear that? I did, because my guys know that drives me crazy. Well, obviously, I've always thought, well, we are trying to let them win, because if you look at the amount of money that we've put back into NWTF and now Turkeys for Tomorrow, I mean, we love it. Hunters in general love it. So you're trying to let them win, and I think it's all safe to say, even though you got ebbs and flows of populations, deer, fisheries, turkeys, whatever it is, I feel like the wildlife is winning, and there's a value. It gets more expensive, but, our fisheries and our herds are doing better. We've got bigger deer, more turkey.
All I know is the state limit's 3. I'm trying to kill 3. I don't know about none of this winning stuff.
Yeah, that's kind of the way I was.
If I get 3 birds a year, that's winning.
And like I said, when you grew up, I mean, where did you hunt? Mississippi. You might have been close to Alabama, but that's another $250 in a non-resident. Nobody's going to do that.
Yeah.
I mean, So, I'm going to save that up. And speaking of Shoney's and Waffle House, I'm going to spend that on,
that's right,
on large Joe Norman that I'm courting around meeting at the Dairy Queen to go on a date with me. I'm saving that for Applebee's, son.
Yeah, that's right.
I just tried to get my 2 in Georgia, and that's right. And boy, if you got your 2, you done did something. And if you did it within legal means, and guess what? The turkey that comes out of strut with a hen, walks over the ridge, if you could run up to the ridge and get him, you were happy, and you would tell everybody how you got him. It wasn't like you was unproud. And now I think it's the pride that people are like, it's like the great American, I don't know, moral compass judge out there,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's weird, but I don't even know how I got off on that. But that's one thing I loved about you, because you could tell that everything you were doing, I just felt like this Trent, like, he might be my cousin. Like, I don't know. I just felt like
I ain't hiding nothing.
Yeah, you ain't hiding nothing. And,
No.
and I think that does bring up something. Do you think there's just a lot of people out there, Trent, and maybe you discovered this in doing these comedy and kind of making fun of yourself to a degree, to where people just ain't comfortable in who they are, maybe? I don't know.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, because all the bad comments, all the, the people that are in the industry, whether it's social media industry, comedy industry, hunting industry, the people that give you flack, if you hang around them for most time 5-10 minutes, you'll be able to see this person is pretty heavily insecure about something.
Yes.
And those insecurities come out when, and a lot of times I think it's jealousy too.
I think jealousy and envy.
I think it's jealous. I think people sometimes are jealous of, how okay you are with yourself. And being able to be vulnerable and being able to film that, because they want to jump out of the truck and shoot the bird. They want to do that, but they know if they film that, then they're not a real turkey hunter anymore. They're not a real this or that. They're not a man, So it's almost like they're at the whim of everybody else and pleasing everybody else. They're not going to please themselves.
Maybe that don't give them the accolades of what they thought they needed to see for out of themselves.
Yeah, that's the thing too, is like, on the subject of turkey hunting, I mean, nowadays we've got this new thing, which I'm not an advocate of being stupid with a gun in your hand.
Me either.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree.
Contrary to my last video, but
you hit what you were shooting at, so you wasn't stupid.
That's exactly right. Thank you. But at the same time, I'm not going to look at a boy or a grown man that shoots at a bird at 45 yards and folds him and be like, yeah. Now you got to have that TSS, don't you? So you can get out there. You ain't a real, you can't get him into 25 yards. Just like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't do anything for me to put somebody down like that.
Me either.
And it's none of my business. If it's ethical and legal, and which I guess that's probably the big argument is that ethical, which I believe it is. But I'm not going to put somebody down for that, because that could be that guy. That could be that guy that's his 2 weekends out of the year that he gets to hunt. And he went out there and shot that bird at 55 steps and folded him. And he is happy as all get out and just posted it on social media and like dropped him at 55 steps. And now he's got 100 comments saying all this bull.
I so agree with that. And because I learned this, and I think I've become more, I don't know if the word's empathetic or have a lot more empathy in me, because I've learned, especially when you look at our culture, especially hunting, even though there's a lot of ladies that's got involved and engaged and actually really good at the craft of hunting. But overall, it's a pretty male dominant situation. And I'm certainly not saying us men have more on our shoulders than any other sex out there. I don't know how many they are in the world now. It seems to be confused. There's a lot of different, I don't know, but I
thought that's where you was going.
Yeah, I still think best I can tell in my D I got in biology, there's still a male and a female, so a woman and a man. But me and I've noticed this. I thought about this the other day. I had a friend of mine not too long ago who he took his own life, and it was so surprising. And it hit me. It's like, I didn't know this guy was dealing with nothing, because every single time I saw him, which was not super frequent, but when's the last time you asked a guy whether he was pretty stoic or full of crap like us and we're cutting up all the time? Or like even I think of Robin Williams. Have you ever asked a man, how you doing? Mm-hmm. Every man says, good. Well, a lot of them are lying.
Yeah.
They're lying. They're not doing good. You don't know whether it's a financial crisis. You don't know if they're dealing with drugs or some vice. And so what I learned about these negative comments, and obviously I'm very secure. I know I'm blessed. I think I know you well enough to know already, just this far into this podcast, that you're secure, that, a little sarcastic or mean comment don't get you down. You're going to go home. You got a beautiful family, a loving wife. But you don't know what somebody else is dealing with. And if it's somebody kills a turkey or a deer, whether it's a 2.5-year-old deer, shot him with a crossbow, whether he used a decoy, whether he's in a ground blind, whether he shot him at 50 yards, with TSS, I am never going to put that person down, because I don't know. Because if I ask that guy how he's doing, how are you doing? He's going to say good. In reality, that one clip could have been just the one happy thing that's happened to him, and God knows how long of finally killing a Georgia turkey or a Mississippi turkey. And not saying turkeys ain't hard to kill everywhere, but what could that have meant to that guy's joy factory?
Right. You just
and
killed,
then all
you
of
just
a sudden,
killed his joy.
There's a list of negative comments because he used TSS or a decoy. Whether you think that's not the good way or even the moral high ground, it's legal. And I've yet to understand the hatred and the negativity, especially in the ignorance of what that particular man or woman could be going through. For me, hunting has always been my therapy. It's like if you and I can go hunt a turkey this evening, obviously it's not the season, but I'm just saying.
We can.
I feel like you'd go with me, Trent.
We can, yeah.
They're gobbling. They were hitting it this morning behind the house, actually. But I feel like I feel like that it's bigger than what you do and how you do it. And I always say this, and probably people are tired of me saying it. I always say, man, it's like, look, we all who that's lived in America that grew up a classic American life didn't play baseball, but none of us started, not even Chipper Jones, hitting a deadgum, 100-mile-an-hour fastball off, Nolan Ryan. You started on a tee. So who am I to say, even if it's a grown man that hits off a tee, whether he shoots a 30-06 and kills a spike, I'm just not going to be the guy because that's his God-given right to go hunt the way he wants. And even though we're all in different evolutions of where we at, I just think it's one of the most narcissistic things. Now, if you see something you think somebody's doing that's not as ethical as they think, and you can approach them with love and say, hey, Trent, man, I saw you've been doing this a lot, dude. I want to show you a little technique that I think is going to be a lot more fun, whether it's hunting with a longbow, whether it's hunting with a compound, maybe you're a crossbow, whether you've only shot a 30-06 or a 300 mag in a clear cut in Alabama. It's like, dude, you got some good bow hunting. Let me help you show you.
Yeah.
You're going to freak out when you get a doe with a bow and a G5 broadhead. It's going to change your perspective.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to start saying, oh, what are you, freaking man? You one of these new wave gender species, you shot a 30-06 and shot a little 2.5-year-old 8-pointer. I mean, and I see that and I'm thinking, I don't know. It don't bother me from the standpoint if they direct it to me. I get madder looking at other people's success and how somebody wants to throw a shadow on it.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, this is a hard working guy.
Yeah.
And he finally gets a chance to do this, and all you can do, how hard is it to say congratulations on that public forum? Or maybe hit him up in the DM like, hey, dude, I saw you've had the last 4 pictures. You've been filling your tags with that 300 Win Mag. Bro, you ain't going to believe, man, as good a hunter as you are now, and you've killed you several nice bucks, you ought to try this bow hunt, and I think you'll love it.
Yeah.
Everybody can respect that.
Well, and we've been talking about the negative comments for 15 minutes now. I did this one time because I made a pretty close to the chest post. I can't remember exactly what it was about, but when I did it, my wife was like, I really wish you wouldn't do that. And I was like, well, I'm going to do more of them because those are the ones that work.
Yes.
She does that.
Yes.
But I showed her on there. I can't remember what it was. It might have been a little bit political or whatnot, but within about 7 or 8 hours, I had about 1,400 comments.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a lot of, shade thrown my way for the video. Like I said, I can't remember what it was exactly, but I remember because Bree, she had a hard time with that and what people were saying in the comment section. I said, listen, honey, look, this post has 250,000 likes.
Yeah.
It's got 1,400 comments. I said, let's say that all 1,400, which they weren't, but let's say all 1,400 are negative. And let's do the math. All right. 250,000 or 1,400 divided by 250,000. It was a 0.00 something % of people that saw that post disliked it enough to say something about it or disliked it with the dislike button.
Yes.
And it's like, so 99.87%, whatever, saw it and loved it.
Liked it.
And there's 2 million
or
views on it.
Or possibly didn't have anything to say about it, which...
but they liked it.
But if they liked it, they had to have liked it. Just a simple like. Yeah.
The negative is what we remember.
Yeah.
But in talking what we're talking about right now and hunting the way we hunt and doing all that kind of stuff, there's still there's a vast majority of people that agree with it and like it. and understand what we're doing
yes.
and feel the same way we do about all that kind of stuff, you know? And I think that's important too, because a lot of the negative gets talked about. Only the negative gets talked about a lot of times.
I agree.
And, you know, and I've had a bunch of people message me, and just literally every day I get messages, which probably is unhealthy, but every day I get messages of people telling me they love me. Thank you.
Yes.
I get messages of people saying, you've helped me through such a hard time. I was doing this, doing that, I was going through this, and you just have helped me get through that. And, you know, that right there, we got to focus on that more than we do anything, because
I agree.
That's what allows us to continue to drive on. And because when you get beat down so much, if you just pay attention to the negative, then you think it's all negative. You know, it throws a big negative shade over it. And I'm going to tell you, man, I have dealt with anger for a long time in my life, and I'll deal with it till the day I die. And when you get into social media and you start trying to be a comedian, you start trying to, you know, push your beliefs on the platform and talk about, you know, everything that I'm about is controversial, you know, to our world today. All right. You know, but, and
you're
then
saying
you
just
start
being regular and fun can sometimes, being
a regular, fun Christian redneck that's a little edgy every now and then. You're now the minority.
Man. You're wild.
That's right. And there's a lot of folks that when they hear me talk, they're like, I hate you. You know?
Just our accent.
Just our accent. They know. And I do lives every now and then, and people will comment on there, who did you vote for? What do you do? What do you believe in this? And I tell them every time, like, listen, folks, it's common sense. Whatever you think I'm about, and whatever you think I think about a certain subject, you're right.
You're probably right.
You're probably right.
You're probably right.
You know,
your president's a pedophile. And I'm like, I just killed a deer. I just killed a deer. I'm like, man, what are you saying? I wasn't even around to vote for Clinton back then, dude.
Point. Is that the problem?
Yeah.
What's going on? Like,
but they kind of got it right. They kind of know just in our humor. Right? Yeah, we probably voted for Trump, right?
Yeah.
Okay, you got me.
That's right.
But you already don't like me. You didn't even see my daughter get her first deer because you're thinking my president I voted for that you don't even know who I voted for is probably point.
Oh, that's so funny because that's true, brother. That is. But yeah, it's you know, I mean, there's still a lot of folks out there, and that's what helps me love what I do. I think if I had all the money in the world, that I would still, I wouldn't push out 3 videos a day on social and 1 a week on YouTube, but I would still do videos because I love it, man.
Right.
I love getting those messages. I love getting reactions out of people, making people laugh. But the biggest thing is when you can be relatable. That's what I always want to do. I always just be true to myself and be relatable. Because when you meet those people in public, like probably the number one comment I get is, you know, my daddy was just like yours.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep, exactly. What a heck of a compliment to not only our family bloodline, but the culture that we was raised up in, you know, hard work and you're doing what you got to do to make ends meet. And how did that make you feel, Trent? You're right. I agree completely with you on because I'm very guilty of that. I'll read comments. You know, I caught myself today. There was a post that Ryan had put up and my son Mason had put up, and I'm reading, and like it's just all these cool comments. It was some throwback stuff of when I was really young in high school killing turkeys, and there was a Blake Shelton. There was a picture of Blake that I had. That he had a Jake, and he looked like he was in 8th grade. Still had the big mullet, and I'm reading. It's like, oh my God, this is awesome, dude. Love this. You know, the fire emojis, and I'm looking and I'm feeling good. You know, I'm getting a little dopamine. Like, oh man, this is cool, man. Throwback.
Yeah.
But then all of a sudden, just today, and one guy said, yeah, I'm sure all these are public ground birds. Give me a break, you know, farm birds or whatever. And they're like, you know, and immediately I'm like, just ruined my whole deal. But I'm thinking, wait a minute, like you said, 30 posts up here, all positive. Then there's 1 negative. And that one hit me. And you got to let the people that are celebrating that relate to that, that's what you should stick on. But it's so amazing how the psychology of that does hit. And but the question I was going to ask you, how was that when you not only was getting the DMs or you was getting the comments and like, oh my God, I love this, so relatable, this is just like my father, or, you know, we could be brothers or whatever, to that. Yeah. Like being at NWTF, I saw several people stopping you, literally grown men that you never met, hugging your neck, you know, like, man, what's up, buddy? You know, like a long lost brother or cousin or uncle or grandfather. When you see people say, hey man, thank you, you pulled me through a tough time or whatever, that video made me laugh, brought me back. Dude, how did that make you feel inside?
I just say, thank God.
Yeah.
That's it. Because I could so easily be the person to be the opposite. I could let one thing said to me or one bad video or whatever the case get to me and just be like, man, screw all this.
Yeah.
But it's those kind of comments, man. It's just like, and it also lets me know, because everything we see on TV, everything we see on our phones, a lot of it is very negative. Mm-hmm. Our way of life is not prominent anymore. There's not many of us out there. That's a lie. There's way more of us than there is of anybody else.
Way more.
And so when you go out into the world and you come up, because I've made some edgy posts, but it's all, comedy, most of it. And, based off some comments and messages, you'd think that somebody was waiting at the end of my driveway with a 12 gauge. I've never had anybody come up to me, which I know it's going to happen eventually, but to this day, I've never had anybody come up to me, say anything negative about my content. Okay.
Right.
I've always had people come up to me and say that,
yes.
about, I love your stuff. You remind me of this guy. Your dad is just like my dad. You were raised the same way I was. Thank you. I got a lot of thank yous for, having clean content. And, that just, like I said, look, people love to be praised.
Mm-hmm. Just
like the sweetest sound to anyone's ears is their own voice.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Same concept. I mean, we love to have praise and to be told that we're doing good and, this and that. So, I mean, yeah, I absolutely love all that, but I love the fact that it's a reminder to me in this crazy world that we live in with what we're, constantly seeing everywhere, that there are still a ton of folks that were raised like us, that are raising their kids like us, that are, trying to live right and do right and stuff like that. And the other big comment I get is, you're a breath of fresh air because of what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And maybe one day, I definitely don't think I'm a guy that can be canceled from the aspect of like companies.
I agree.
Because I don't work with many of them, but I think I can still be canceled from the aspect of like platforms shutting me down. And until that happens, I'm going to continue doing my thing, and I'm going to continue, just putting it out there, and because that's one thing I can't worry about, because there's, a ton of folks like we're talking about that they love to see that social media and everything is filled with people just being completely fake and completely one way or another. And, not very relatable. So when you see someone that you can relate to, that's why Drewski does so well, because every skit that he does is freaking, and of course I'm obviously not black. I'm not identifying that today, but even, seeing that, it's not only funny, but especially in the black community, that they're the same way. They're like, man, that's my uncle.
Yes.
That's my granddad. That's this part. That's that part. That's my friend. He does the same thing. So, that being relatable, making relatable content, getting those comments and affirmations from people, it's just a driving force, man, to just continue on, keep going, and work as hard as I can, which I am. And
you've done a heck of a job at it. And I do believe too, when you see that, and I really do think there's a certain element of it that it is a God thing. Like it's a certain blessing that you and what you're doing, and especially when they can meet you and they see what they thought was a, funny old, crazy old fun guy from Mississippi, grew up blue collar, whatever the stereotype, and then they meet you and they walk away. And it was nothing that was done astronomical or crazy. It wasn't like seeing Prince for the first time jump off a riser and freaking rip in Purple Rain. It was just some very simple element to where it really hit me, and I realized that things like that, I mean, it's a gift from God. It's like a spiritual thing that you can give back. And I don't know if you have experienced this, where you get some of those type of feedback, and dude, it almost gets you choked up to where it's like, man, I didn't really do nothing. Like, I'm not, and it's special, and it becomes just a positive, humbling, zero arrogance in it, to where it's like, that was something simple. You made somebody laugh, and I think it's bigger. I think it's bigger than a trend. It's bigger than what I get to do. I think it is a spiritual gift, or, the Holy Spirit. To some people might say I'm corny me saying that, but I really believe that.
Well, I prayed when I started. I said, Lord, I'm going to, and the other thing is my daddy told me, I don't care what you say or what you do, as long as you keep it clean.
Yeah.
And, cause I mean, my daddy's 61 years old, and I outweigh him by 30 pounds, got an inch on height on him and everything. And if I got on there and made a fool of myself and started saying whatever, my daddy would knock on my door and say, hey, bud, let's step out here in the gravel. Let me holler at you real quick.
It still ain't convinced you could whoop him, are you?
No.
You done been to the Marine Corps and still,
Bro,
like, I ain't messing with Dad.
Yeah, no.
I'm the same way with my dad.
Because, see, my dad's old school mean. Like, he grew up rough. Like,
He couldn't
that dad,
whoop
I'm
you.
talking about that severe alcoholic. He was very severely abusive, too. Physically. He didn't just say hurtful things to him, my dad.
Don't you ever say the F word again with a 2x4 in his hand.
Dude, he caught me. I'll tell you this. He caught me smoking when I was 12. Whooped me like a dog. And the next day I come home from school and he hollered at me to come outside on the back porch, and he was whittling. He had broke off a hickory limb from a tree that was about 4 foot long. He had that thing whittled smooth. And he said, you know what this is for? And I kind of figured, but I didn't. That's not one of those things where you go, yes, sir. That's, you just say, no, sir, what is that? And let him talk.
Yeah.
And he said, this is for when you decide to come in with beer on your breath.
He's setting you up for the next thing. Like, right after the whooping the day before.
Yeah. And of course, now daddy told me too later on, he's like, son, if you just like me, if you know that you can get an inch, you're going to go a mile. If I don't put the fear of God in you, you're going to get drunk and go out there and hit somebody and go to jail.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
You're not only going to drink 5, you're going to drink 12 because the guy before you drank 10, And so, but yeah, so, I mean, daddy didn't play. He didn't go to recess. So that right there, and my dad he's my hero. He's the most amazing dad, grandfather, husband, everything.
Right.
And, but he's mean as a yard dog too, son. You do not want to
I love
cross
that
him.
though. I mean, my dad was the same way. You know what's intriguing about that raising too, and it's not popular by modern culture. I don't even try to parent this way. My dad and a lot of the people, I remember thinking, like, like smoking a cigarette, and you got there and this Uncle Donis, boy, he's smoking a Pall Mall.
Yeah.
Like, if I catch you smoking a cigarette, I'm whooping your ASS. And I'm looking at him like, you're smoking.
Yeah.
And I remember that was the first time. You do as I say, not as I do.
Yep.
And you know what?
Yep.
Because, looking back, Uncle Donis, his whole life was trying to quit smoking those Pall Malls. It inevitably killed him.
Yeah.
So I had to get 52 to realize that was the lesson. He hated that he smoked.
Yeah.
He loved it. With everything in him, the most enjoyable thing was to sit out there. He was a mechanic and smoke a cigarette. But it ain't like he had to go to my mom and dad and ask, hey, can I be ready to whoop his butt if I catch him smoking? First of all, here's what's odd. I never even smoke a cigarette. Looks like you hadn't come home with beer on your breath. Your dad could have very well been reflecting like, I like a beer. And sometimes I can drink too many, possibly, and I'm just gonna go ahead and let him know that he's never gonna. I'm gonna not him allow to be. Maybe like I could be, or like Uncle Donis, and it's so amazing to where you're. Well, if you do it, you can't expect your kids not to
I
do it.
hate
No,
that.
I hate that too, man.
It's like, okay, so you're going to let your 10-year-old start smoking. So what do you think they're going to be doing when they're 18?
Yeah.
That you ain't going to be able to tell them nothing. They ain't scared of you for nothing. And you got to have a little fear raising kids, especially boys.
Yeah.
Because any kind of alpha male boy that ain't scared of nobody is I mean, a lot of them's in prison right now.
That's right. The
A lot
yes
of them that
ma'am.
didn't have the daddies that would make them act right and jerk them up.
That's right.
But, and see, right before I joined the Marines, when I was 17, I asked Daddy, I said, so this would have been in 2012. I asked Daddy, I was like, because I used to chew tobacco too.
Mm-hmm.
But I chewed because, and this was way after I had that whooping, about 5 years. But we'd go duck hunting or whatever, and I'd throw me in a little thing, a red horse or red man. Or
little chaw in there.
little chaw,
Yeah.
but
yeah.
see, chew don't get stuck in your teeth.
Just
don't
in the
have
back
no
of your mouth.
scent.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was like, all right, I'm good here. Especially like I was so paranoid that I'd take it out an hour and a half and wash my mouth out and everything before I went home. Because I every now and then get a breath test. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Blow in my face.
That's right.
But I asked him when I was 17, I said, Daddy, so I'm turning 18 next year. Can I chew tobacco if I want to? He said, I don't give a, if you're 30, if you living in my house, you ain't doing nothing. Well, fast forward a year later, I come back from my first deployment. I'm in the Marine Corps, and
Served your country
I was
in wartime.
I was smoking cigarettes. I started smoking on that deployment,
yeah.
and Dad knew about it. And first thing he says, no, I'm sorry. After that deployment, before that, we were at Pendleton. Him and Trey brought the car, and that's when he found out. Anyway, when I got back from my second deployment, I came home and Daddy said, hey, son, grab your cigarettes, come out here and let's talk. And he sat right there. And
were you like, how does he know that?
Well, I knew he knew, but
Right.
I wasn't at that point to where I was like comfortable
You wasn't
pulling
gonna-
one out and lighting up in front of him. But him telling me, it was kind of that rite of passage that I know you're a man. You're on your own. And at the end of the day, this is not the end of the world. All right, grab your smokes. Let's go outside and talk. And so we talked about that deployment and everything else for an hour while I smoked a half a pack of cigarettes right there in front of my dad, man to man.
God, I bet that was like probably even after you'd been serving in wartime in the Marine Corps.
Yeah.
You probably felt more like a man there than in combat almost.
That's what started to really make me respect my father. Was my dad was, and all of my friends can tell you, he was the most strict father out of everyone that I knew. Everyone.
Mm-hmm.
But when I became a man, when I signed that dotted line at 17 with my mom, and she had to sign with me, and when I shipped off to boot camp, I became a man. And when I came back in his house, I still respected him. Yes, sir. And I got cussed one time in front of him, and I said something, and he said, hey, boy, don't forget whose house you in. But other than that, he was acknowledging the fact that I'm a grown man. He's done his job, and now I'm man to man.
How did that feel? Was that like,
dude? Well, my brother told me. My brother's 6 years older than me, and he told me growing up when he got out of the house, he's like, Trent, I'm telling you, you and Daddy gonna change when you get out. I'm like, oh, what? This is bull crap. I hate him. He hates me. This is, da 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 da. And Trey's like, I'm telling you, it's gonna change. And dude, he was 100% right, because it was literally like, as soon as I got in the Marines and went off, I was out of his house. I was welcome with arms open coming back, but it was completely different. There was no more training. There was no more preaching about this or about that. He wanted me to get my Marlboro Reds, come out there on the back porch and talk to him. I'm gonna
catch
listen.
up.
We're gonna talk. You gonna talk, and I'm gonna listen.
Wow.
And yeah,
that's
a man right there.
That is a man.
That's
and
a
I will
man.
tell you, that style of parenting these days is so difficult. It's the right way. It's still the right way. Even though times have changed drastically, that old school mentality, because you're right, it's so easy to look back and think about, man, they just hate me. Or they just trying to work me in the ground. Or, I tell the story of I tell you what it did do. it definitely taught us how to learn how to want to be independent, because you didn't want to live with mom and dad. You wanted you wanted to see them as much as you could. But I remember moving out, and same thing with me. I remember I'd been on the road and I had a little old house down here, a starter house, and my dad come over and yard needed cutting, and I knew my dad was looking at it like, oh boy, don't let this place hold down a little bit, But I could just tell, like, it's your house. And I remember that. It wasn't nothing said, but I could feel where, back up, 7 years prior, still living with my dad, trying to get started in a career and trying to figure out how to make ends meet. It didn't matter if I worked all day to Friday. I mean, Saturday morning, he'd be knocking on the door at 7:30, because I'm at his house.
Right.
And like, I don't think he wanted to really do a chore. I think in reality, he probably wanted to get up and, start barbecuing and us watch a NASCAR race or watch something on TV. But it's almost like there was a part of him that snapped and said, I ain't letting this boy sleep in. He's still in my house. Power bill's paid. He had that window unit turned down, cold as it go.
That's right.
Had a box fan blowing all night. He owes me $3 this morning.
That's right.
And I look back and I could not for the life of me understand that. And he certainly even then was my friend, but there was a part I kept thinking well, here we go. I mean, why can't we just take a day and relax? Had I not been in the house, I don't think he would have been burning as hard to get up and go cut firewood in July. We're going to stop for a quick break, but please don't go anywhere. We got so much to come.
Spandau Arms was founded with a simple idea. The best part of hunting isn't the gear, it's the memories. From the first rooster rise of the season in the tall grass to the last second opportunity on the target buck as sunset closes in. Spandau believes firearms should be built to perform, priced to be accessible, and designed to become an essential piece of your hunting story. Their lineup includes field-ready shotguns and precision-driven rifles built for hunters, competitors, and recreational shooters who know that quality and dependability matter more than the hype. Born from the experience of American hunters and crafted by generations of gunmakers, each Spandau firearm is built for real-world performance in the moments that matter.
Look, I love a good cigar. I also love a campfire and stories and a little philosophical talk with my buddies in hunting camp. Like I said, nothing tops it off like a good stogie. And if you're looking for that ultimate cigar experience, Cigars International is your go-to destination for premium handmade cigars. As the industry leader, Cigars International offers the largest selection, unbeatable prices, and customer service that's second to none. Plus, free shipping every day. There's no minimums, there's no limits. Just shop, check out, and enjoy free delivery on every order. Whether you're new to cigars or a seasoned aficionado, Cigars International makes it easy, approachable, and fun with expert guides, staff reviews, and helpful advice. It's not just about cigars. They've also got cool accessories, from humidors and much more to elevate your smoking experience. Ready to light it up? Right now you can get 20% off your order plus free shipping every day with my code Waddell. That's WADDELL at checkout, or visit cigarsinternational.com/Waddell and the discount code will automatically apply.
Well, I tell you, the biggest lesson I think my daddy taught me growing up, I was about 14 years old, and I had, me and my brother grew up to where Daddy had the grocery store with our uncle. They partnered and had a grocery store in town. So from the time we were real young, we'd go up there and work, especially during the summer. And Daddy told us, he said, listen, when he opened an account up for me, a banking account, he gave me $100 right there at Cadence Bank. It was Bank Corp South then in Manatee. And he said, I'm going to start you off with $100. Now listen, son, when you turn 15, you're going to want a truck. Now your daddy rode a school bus every day for the last day of senior year.
Right.
So I ain't opposed in letting you ride it too. I ain't paying for your truck, I ain't paying for your gas, and I ain't paying for your insurance. You got an opportunity to work and save you money, and you can do that, or you can blow it and ride the bus. and that's going to come up in about 6 years from now. So make your mind up. So we grew up, just because it was our money too. I remember asking him, that's where I was getting at with this, is that when I was 14, or no, I'm sorry, I was 15, because I had just bought my brother's truck from him for $4,500. It was a 1981 Chevy Scottsdale with about 80,000 miles on it, and 305.
Yes.
2-wheel drive. And I had just bought it. Funny thing was, Daddy didn't put the insurance in my name, so I paid $250 that year for Daddy to drive it insured, and I wasn't even insured on it. He told me that one day. He said, son, you ain't even on here. I said, you going to pay me back the $250? He said, you look at this house. There's your payback right there.
There's your payback.
He said,
kept you out of the rain, didn't it?
Your new premium's $500 for next year. So, but no.
You got a discount under Dad's name.
So I bought the truck and everything, and I still had money left over in my savings account and everything. Well, my buddy was selling his Kawasaki 125 or whatnot, 2-stroke. And, we had ridden dirt bikes, and Daddy told me when he bought me that Honda 230, he said, this is the last bike I'm buying. You can let me do it now, or you can wait a year till you get bigger, a little bigger, and get a 250. That'll last you forever. Well, me being a kid, I want the 230 right now.
Right.
That's okay. So he bought that used 230. He told me it's the last dirt bike you're getting. So Hunter starts selling this bike, and it's $1,500. And we're talking about a man's bike, a 2-stroke 125. And I asked Daddy,
a race bike. This is a race bike.
Right. Yeah. I said, Daddy, I've got the money. And I said, I've got a few $1,000s more than that right now. So I've got money for all that in my truck and everything. Can I buy it? And I remember we were riding in the truck, and he looked at me and he told me no. And I said, well, Daddy, if you don't mind me asking, I'm not being disrespectful, but why not?
In your mind, it's your money, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why not? And he said, son, I got to teach you how to be disappointed and go on in life.
Wow.
He said, you see these houses right here? He said, them right there, they get them a new four-wheeler every year. New trucks, all this. And he started pointing at houses and everything that was raising kids. And he was like, they've been broke. They bankrupt, all this kind of stuff. He said, you watch what I'm telling you. He said, now, I'm not telling you that those kids, when they grow up, ain't going to be worth nothing. But the first 10 years of their adult life, they're going to struggle. Because the first 10 years of their life, they're not going to have the money, and they're going to want everything and expect everything. And he said, you need to learn how to be disappointed and to continue on and move through.
That is stout.
Dude,
stout.
That right there drove me through Primerica, social media, the Marine Corps, everything. Because there's so many things in life that just ain't fair. Just ain't right. And you got to keep going. Keep your head up and keep going, and not sit around and moan and groan about what ain't fair and what ain't right. You got to learn to be disappointed and keep moving.
And that's what I'm saying. Your pops and that raising, that was harder deep down. He would admit it now.
Yeah.
To say that and to do that, because obviously in this case, your dad still has authority, is your money, but he still won't allow it. And I'm sure you're sitting there at the time like, this is pretty mean.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no other way to look at it at that age.
Like he's just being a control freak.
Control freak. Yeah. Whatever it is. But if you think about it, he was so spot on. But that's what I'm saying. That's hard to do. Think how hard you got young kids. I got still a 9-year-old in the house, and we work hard. We go. And so if you have success, well, you certainly want to shower your kids with the best ball bat. You can afford it. I mean, what else do you work for? It's not like I'm saving up for a Ferrari. I ain't saying I wouldn't like to have one, but I can't see if I had that kind of money buying one. Certainly, do we want land? Do we want a nice tractor, maybe with cabin air? But what do we want? You want your wife to drive a really nice car. You want your kids in a fast dirt bike.
Yeah.
And so it's harder not to get the dirt bike. If you got the money, than it is to teach a lesson to saying you need to learn to be disappointed that you don't have one. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I mean, I know you're thankful now for that. I mean, at the time you're like, oh my gosh.
And now my son, he's 3.5, and he's able to, when we go to Walmart or TSC, he's like, Daddy, can I have this? Can I have that? And a lot of times he gets it. But if I hadn't been raised that way, I wouldn't be able to tell my son, no, just because we're coming to TSC don't mean you get a toy, son.
That's right.
Just because you don't want one don't mean you get it.
And you would, not only would you not possibly not get it, or whether you do or not, because I'm the same way with my kids, but you couldn't discern if it's even wrong to not do it if you had the money. You know what I mean? Like you wouldn't even know if, like, what does it hurt? And I think that is the least, even when I do something and it is something nice, like I bought an RC car, actually my son Waylon, he had done saved up $100, and he's got RC cars, but he wanted this drift car. Well, he done saved him up $100. He you know, whatever, doing chores around the house, and he wanted this little RC car. And well, we get there, of course, the RC car is like $189. Of course, and I'm sitting there thinking, first of all, he don't need to spend his own $100 on it, because he's going to be tired of it in a week. He's going to ride it every day for a week, and it's going to sit on the shelf with his other something he saved up and bought, or Santa Claus brought him or whatever.
Yeah.
And I broke down, but the whole way home I was mad at myself. Like I should have walked out of that store and not got it, but I got it. But my point is, whether I was right or wrong, I'm thankful my father raised me to know that it bothered me, if that made sense.
And you know, we're not perfect. Daddy wasn't perfect. I ain't perfect. You ain't perfect.
None of us
There's
are.
going to be areas that you mess up in and I mess up in as fathers. And then there's going to be areas that we thrive in. You know, it's balance, you know, and in your mind, the RC car was a failure, but I mean, I'm sure there's plenty of things that's happened since then that you have thrived in as a father that they'll remember and get equal amounts of lessons from.
Oh,
you know?
yeah.
So, cause I mean, and that's the thing, like Daddy wasn't, and he don't mind me telling this, but you know, my dad was that way. He was about raising boys to men and, being good, godly men. And that's another reason that I carry so much respect for him, because I knew that he didn't have a father. He didn't always handle everything the best way. Might whoop you a little too hard here and there, but every morning at 5 o'clock, if I had to get up and pee, he was at the table drinking coffee and reading the Bible.
Wow.
So I knew he was doing his best, but my dad at the same time was not that guy to go out there and, son, how's your day? How you doing?
Right.
You know, let's go out there in the yard and throw the ball. You know what I'm saying? Like, he was busy making a living, and in his mind, he gave me and Trey what he wanted as a kid. He gave us a daddy that loved the Lord, loved our mama, wouldn't beat on us, kept the lights on, and would train us up in the way that we should go. All that other stuff, he didn't know how to do. And he didn't want it when he was a kid, because he wanted that.
He wanted what he gave y'all.
And now, me as a father, I'm able to say, I'm going to teach my son and my daughter that, but I'm also, when my son, and I don't want to, but when he wants to wrestle and play, we're going to wrestle and play.
I completely
When he wants to get out of the
that.
stand, when we've been there for 7 minutes long, and he wants to get out, or we've driven 40 minutes to go hunt somewhere, and we sitting in a blind for Monarch Hunting Product Blind by Corey Lear.
There you go.
But when we go sit in the blind and we've been there for 15 minutes and he's like, Daddy, I want to go. I'm not going to sit there and go, boy, you better sit down and be quiet. We drove 40 minutes to get here.
Yep.
We're going to go. You know what I'm saying? So that's the kind of understanding that I wanted. And I fail a lot. You know, I'm redheaded. I got a temper and I'm impatient. So there's a lot of stuff that I ain't going to tell you. But I think if we can do that as men and as fathers and just carry on and try to do better than what we had and everything, you know, we can look up and everything will be a little bit better 20 years from now, 30 years from now.
You're so correct on that. And you're right. That's a really cool perspective, is to see your father gave you everything that he didn't get that he really wanted. And then obviously you've tried to give your kids all of that, plus a few little things to fill in the gaps. I caught myself doing the same thing. You know, I use my dad's example. He never graduated high school, and And I said, Dad, why didn't you just stick it out? You could have got 12th grade. He said, hell, boy, I got tired of shaving in 8th grade. He said, he said, I was the oldest freshman. He quit in 9th grade, but I think he was 18 or something. I forget. But the one thing he always did with me, and you could look like he was spoiling me, man, he had me signed up. You can better believe I played every year Little League football. I was from T-ball to all the way up through, played high school ball. And I remember I liked it, but I wasn't in love with it. But I was made somewhat to play it, so I didn't really have a choice. But it took me a while to realize that the reason he kept saying that is I never got to do this, and I want to give you the chance to do it, even if you don't think you want to.
Yeah.
And at the time, I didn't appreciate it as much as now, but it's kind of like you was telling the story of your father. I felt like that was the same scenario. It wasn't like I played and I was great at it, but I never made it to the pro, where you see some of these parents now, they never even played, not because they wanted to, or maybe they did play and didn't make it, and by God, their kid's going to be a pro. My dad just wanted to say, I want to go to the ball field because I never got to go when I was a kid, and my son is going to be afforded this opportunity. And so I appreciate that now. And I never got to skip a practice. I mean, he'd be watching, he'd be out there coaching, and he knew nothing about football. Like literally nothing. I don't think he knew there was 4 downs. The one thing he did, I remember he would always handle the tackling dummy, and he painted a belt buckle, looked like a Santa Claus belt buckle, like a square belt buckle. Uh-huh. And they say, all right, Waddell, you go out there and teach kids how to tackle. And they're like, all right. And he'd be juking that bag around. And he said, look at the belt buckle. And he said, I don't care who they are. Ain't nobody who can't move you. Can't move your waist. You look at the waist. And I don't even know if that was proper football technology or
That's what I learned too. Watch the waist.
So my dad, that's all he did. The other coaches, they'd be even our little league drawing up the defense and offense, and who's going to play where. And Dad would just sit there all day with the bag, and we'd just go tackle the bag with Dad, until we started tackling each other. And I noticed too, my dad, one thing I noticed in football practice, you'd always have a few studs. We had this one guy named Johnny Ferguson, and he was just a big old brawny guy, linebacker. Even when we were kids, we do the tackling drills. Mm-hmm. And I noticed my dad, he'd come grab me and pull me back until every time I got Johnny. Like, I'm looking over there and like, okay, finally I got, man, I'm going to have fun on this one. I'm about to rip this dude. And then all of a sudden getting like, Dad has either moved Johnny, he's matched us up because he wanted me to freaking be hit by the hardest hitter and me to hit the hardest hitter. Yep. And I'm like, man, I'd get home like, Dad, why did you keep doing it? Well, you ain't going to learn nothing. You need to, look. Yeah. You're going to have to be tough. You hit Johnny. And I'm like, you're right. That's right. And then finally, when I did get to the game, it wasn't Johnny. It was somebody I could handle.
You were clotheslining people.
Oh, it was like, dude, nice. you're not Johnny Ferguson. You're not Javadron Holloway. This is easy, dog. Good to meet you, Trevor. I'm going to dominate you all game, How do I know? My dad taught me. He don't even know football, but I know how to handle you. So all those things, it's amazing how prophetic and whatever philosophical and how there's so much lessons in that. And like I said, I think that's what makes you appreciate as far as the livelihood you're making in social media with your skits and your talks. And now another thing you're doing, and man, that was one thing I was so intrigued. You doing some stand-up, like how lonely and scary is that? Like, you're doing a good job. I've seen a few of your acts on YouTube.
The first time I did it, I opened for Zach Rushing at Brewski's in Hattiesburg.
Yeah.
I'm not normally now like nervous about nothing.
Yeah.
And I wasn't until the night before, because I opened for him, and the first time I'd ever done it, there's 350 people out there. And I got in my head the night before. I mean, I literally that night before understood people that have anxiety. I thought, I think I'm having a panic attack, because I was in my mind thinking, I'm just going to call Zach and tell him I'm sick. Complete, just
like wanting to bail.
Yeah.
Completely wanting to bail.
And I was like, no, you ain't doing that. If you get up there and bomb, you get up there and bomb like a man.
Right. And
I went, and to this day, I've done 6 or 7 sets, and that's one of my best by far. I went up there, and that was terrible. Zach asked me when I got off the stage, he said, how long, because he wanted me to do 10 to 15 minutes. And he said, how long do you think you went? And I said, I'm probably a little long, probably about 17, 18 minutes. He did 33.
Are you serious? So
So I did 33 minutes, and a lot of that time, so you want people laughing. I think like technically around 7 to 9 seconds, you want people laughing, and I wasn't doing that. I probably had 5 or 6 big laugh breaks in there, but I was telling stories and stuff and everything, but he's like, dude, he said, you did great, and I felt great. I went home. I was cocky, like just to my family. I was like, I did that. Yeah, dude, I blew the doors off that place, man.
Hold on, Jeff Foxworthy's calling me.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'll make time for you when I can.
Yeah, exactly.
I will not do that if you're watching that, Mr. Foxworthy.
You'll answer, won't you?
I will.
Chappelle or Foxworthy, you'll answer first ring. Yeah. Yeah.
And so the next stand-up I did was also for Zach at the Ellis Theater in Philadelphia, Mississippi. That one, okay, I think it was that one. Yeah, that one, I forgot my notes halfway through.
You kind of just went blank?
And I was like, started rambling a little bit, and then I had to pull my phone out. I timed it, dude. Let me tell you something. The worst part is rewatching it. It took me 3 weeks after I got the footage to man up to rewatch it so I could cut it for shorts.
Right.
And there was like a 45-second pause to where I wasn't saying nothing and looking at my phone. I'm sweating now thinking about it.
Did you play it off like maybe you just checked your phone? Like,
no. I was like, I got to look at my notes here real quick.
It was obvious.
You could tell everybody in the room was like, oh, God, this sucks. Dude.
So anyway, there's a goat and a cow.
Yeah. Yeah.
The goat.
Yeah, dude, it was.
You said it right here.
But once I got back on track, I was good.
Yeah.
I was good. I just forgotten one joke that I was going to segue in. And, but I was good after that. It was okay. But because of that, I was just like, you're so stupid. You're an idiot. You should have prepared more and all this kind of stuff. And then the next one I think I did, it was me and the Hayden, Alabama podcast.
Yeah.
Me and Philip and Shane. We went down.
Those guys are great.
And did a fest in South Mississippi. And we were trying out the county road show, what we do, and which is get up there. I open 10 or 15 minutes, whether it's crowd work or stand up. Just try to get people loose a little bit. Excuse me. And then, we'll sit down and tell stories. Well, we get there to this festival, and it's open. There's booths all outside. It's at a park, and we noticed there's lawn chairs sitting here. And before we went up, they had musicians that nobody ever heard of. Well, there was about 50 or 60 people out there. Were like, okay, this will be okay.
Solid. Yeah.
And I had 10 minutes lined up. Like, I was prepared. I went through everything. I was good. And when it was our turn to get up, everybody left except about 7 old people. So I did 10 minutes of stand up talking about daddy smoking in the shoot house while I was 6, 7 years old and getting whooped and everything else. It was funny, but it was literally, I have one Air Force veteran over here that was signing off on everything. And I was like, okay, if I can do this and get through this, I'm okay. I'll be fine. But I would definitely severely say that was a bomb. Like, it was, you could tell people were on their phone. People were just like, oh. And then and we did it twice. So the second show, I had some more people over here. There's like 11 people that time. And I had a group of folks over here who knew who I was, and they were laughing, but it was kind of, But I've gone back and we did a show at Guest Baptist Church. Brother Robin was there, and I did 10 minutes. I helped with the raffle. So or not a raffle, but it was a giveaway. You get, door prizes. And I did 10 or 15 minutes of crowd work helping with the door prizes and blew the doors off.
People laughing.
Oh, man. Of course, now there's a big difference in going to a place like an open mic, which I've never done, but I would say going to a place where nobody knows you and trying to do stand up, and going to a place where everybody's there for you. It's because of that church, everybody knew who I was. And they knew who Hayden, Alabama. They were there to see us. Okay. Yes. And there's about 330 people there. And yeah, I mean, I could have gone up there and farted in the mic and they'd have laughed. Half of them would have laughed.
Right.
So I don't necessarily think that was me being that good, but it definitely, when you get up there and do a good job and you get a big laugh and the entire room breaks out, you know, it's something. And it's also, stand up allows you to be a little bit looser, you know, than, if that's a word, than when you're on social media. You're not worried about saying this or saying that. Because one thing I said, there was one black kid in the whole church, and you could tell he was 16, 17 years old. He was over there with the youth, and he won a door prize. I can't remember if it was a knife or a sharpener or something. And I went up there to give it to him, and as I was walking he met me in the pew, and I looked around. Of course, it's all just, he's the only black kid. Everybody else is white as snow. Yeah. All right. Redneck and everything. And I looked down, I said, "Here you go, bud." I said, "Do you feel out of place?" And dude, the whole place just erupted. You could hear, while everybody was laughing, other people like, I
bet he was the first that laughed, right?
Yeah,
I'm sure. Yeah,
dude. And when we got done with the show, he come outside, he bear hugged me. He's like, "Man, I love your stuff. You're awesome." All that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, you know, it's all in good fun, but yeah, it's when it works out, I love it.
I love the stand up. I've seen a lot of what you have done, and I also just have always admired that part of the talented stand up guys, because it literally, you don't have a band. It ain't somebody over there playing rhythm guitar, somebody laying down a beat or a good bass line, and you're trying to sing. It's not karaoke, where at least karaoke, you know, these are songs you sung in the shower. Yeah. You know, you kind of know. And so in that case, it's just you and silence in between. And if you hear in the silence, well, that joke must not have worked, you know, or whatever. Yeah. But at the end of the day, I'm intrigued with somebody's gift of gab and just being able to relate enough to them, or the situational comedy that makes people laugh. And I've always admired the comedians. I just always have, you know.
It's one of those things. I've always loved to make people laugh and watch people. I've watched a lot of stand up and watched a lot of shows and everything, and just, you never think that you're going to be on stage doing that. But it's fun. It's, like I said, it's a different kind of feeling. You know, like I said in the truck, it's one feeling when you get a 10 million view video on Facebook. It's that times 20 when you go up there and make the whole room laugh.
Right.
You know? So you can call me in a week from now and I could have a different story, because I'm opening for Justin Stagner in Mobile a week from now. And I've never been to a big city like that and done stand up. Hattiesburg's pretty big, but it ain't Mobile, Alabama. So I don't know what room. It's Justin, he's Southern grandpa, but still, you're in a big city. You don't know what's going to be in there. And I'm going to dress just like this. So I may go in there and get booed out, or I may go in there and, you know, and call you and be like, "Hey, man, it was awesome." You know, I'm doing Mobile from now on, you know. But and that's another part of it too, starting out, that I really enjoy, is just the challenge.
It is a challenge. Anytime you're MCing or doing stand up, you know, because when you're up there that long, and I was going to ask you too, is it more awkward when there's less people or more people?
Awkward.
Or what's harder, a crowd full or a few?
No, I would a few, because
it's tougher with a few.
If I say because see, you know, you got to make it's really hard to make all 10 people laugh. Right. But if you got a crowd of 400 people there, which I've done in front of, if you make 200 of them laugh, or even 100 of them, I mean, it still sounds great. You know, it gives you the confidence. It lets you know that, hey, a quarter of the people in here, half the people, or the whole room thinks I'm funny. You know, you do stand up in front of 10 people, you might not make one person laugh. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Or if you make one of them laugh and then the other 9, because laughter's contagious too. So if you make 100 out of the 400 laugh, you're probably going to pick up the rest of them, or most of them, just because they're hearing them laugh, you know?
Yes.
And they're going to slowly join in. But do you stand up in front of 7 people? Ain't nobody laughing.
That's hard because now you know those 7 people.
Yeah.
There's 7 that either know you or 7 that's going to give you a shot.
Yeah, and that one guy laughs, and they look at him and go, "He's an idiot, just like him." God, I can't wait till he gets down.
Well, it's funny you say that because I remember, obviously, I never have done stand-up. Naturally, I'm sarcastic, and I enjoy laughing. I enjoy seeing people laugh, whether it's something, if I'm the butt of the joke or whatever it is. But I remember the first time that I got signed up to do a hunting seminar. I was in New York, and I'm the most Southern, got a rebel flag on my Camaro, and I'm like, I'm in New York, like Syracuse, New York. Like, could we not have done this in Birmingham, Alabama, or maybe, I don't know, Cordele, Georgia? Like, and so I remember going up there and they had a cool little picture. Michael Waddell talks turkey, whatever my little bio, which is nothing. I'm 21. I'd won a few turkey calling contests, but I remember my dad like, "So you gonna do a seminar?" He said, "What you gonna do? And have a bunch of people to talk to. You're gonna make you nervous?" I said, "No, Dad. I'm more nervous. They won't be anybody there." Like he said, "You talking about nobody?" I said, "I ain't talking about 1 or 2. I'm talking about like nobody." Like, I just was up here, and at the time, like people like Chuck Adams were, hunting people, and sure enough, I get up there, and I forget, it was Bob Folkrod was there, and of course, Bob Folkrod was a bow hunting legend, in the magazines and stuff. So I remember he had one right before me, and there was literally like 100 people out there, which was a lot for this little area. And sure enough, it got to me. Nobody in New York knew who I was. I'd never been on any show. I hadn't even been on a video VHS tape.
Yeah.
And sure enough, I thought, man, it's a pretty good crowd. And Bob was still kind of finishing up. And sure enough, I think, it ate up half of the seminar of mine for them to leave. And then when everybody cleared out, there was 2 people. And I didn't even get to like, "What you gonna be talking about?" I'm like, like obviously they didn't even read that I'm doing a turkey hunting seminar, talking turkey, and then like one of them got up, "Oh, I don't like turkey,"
So me and you just gonna have a conversation.
So literally, I did. I'd never get. I sat on the stage, and said, "Man, I had stuff I was gonna talk about. Well, what you want to talk about?" And they said, "Well, man, you pretty good on the mouth call." And I said, "Well, I mean, yeah, that's really how I even made it into the hunting industry is I won a couple of turkey calling contests." And it actually just sitting there having a conversation. The guy literally, we sat there and talked 45 minutes, me and this guy. And so later I left and I felt like, God, man, that was embarrassing. And then, but I remember the first time that I showed up and there was a lot of people, dude, I was just like, I'm excited. There's 200 people out here. They know who I am. And not to say I couldn't completely flood, but I was way less nervous. I felt like,
when you look at the crowd and they know you and they're excited to see you
walk out
and everything.
"What's up, dude?"
Yeah,
like,
that's
"Hey."
where it's like it turns from nervousness to just extreme excitement.
Yeah,
but when you go out there and people are looking at you and they're doing this, that's where it's like, all right, what am I supposed to say next? That's different. That's a different story.
Did you grow up, Trent? Was you kind of like the class clown, or was you always goofing off?
Absolutely.
Or is that something? So it was even
Absolutely.
you as a kid.
Yes. When I was in 5th grade, I had to get a paddling because it was a rite of passage. I was like, I've got to get paddled, okay? And
so you wanted to get paddled.
Yeah. So Miss McCarthy, God love her, God rest her soul. I think she's. If you're watching this, ma'am, I apologize. I don't know if you're here or not, but regardless, she was my 5th grade teacher, and I finally I shot a spitball at another kid in the class, and it landed. It was a big one, and it landed right there in the corner of his eye, right in front of her. And she's like, "That's it. Get out in the hall." And in elementary school, all the way to 6th grade, they would send a note home if they spanked you at school. So I got home and Daddy was like, "I noticed you got this was over the weekend. I think he got a letter in the mail that Monday or something." And he's like, "I noticed you got a paddling at school." And I told him and everything. And he said, "If I ever get anything like this again, you're going to get it bad when you get here." So I had to mind my manners. I was like, "All right, I got a paddling. I'm cool now. You know, but I got to dial it back and figure out how to do this right if I'm going to make these kids laugh. And 2 years later, we're in 7th grade. I'm in English class, and one of the kids in there is just a thug.
Yeah.
And she tells him, she's like, Austin, get out in the hall right now. And she goes in the hall and gets a coach, and he comes up and he's like, you know, you want a paddling or you want to go to the office? He's like, you ain't touching me. So he goes to the office. Well, I find out through this whole ordeal that once you get to junior high, they just take you out in the hall and whip you and then put you right back in the classroom.
No letters.
No letter or nothing. So by 8th grade, I get a paddling and I come back in and people are snickering and laughing and everything. And I'm like, huh. And it wasn't for disrespect or nothing like that. It's just obviously I like to talk.
Yeah. So
I was talking. I was told to be quiet and I didn't do it. And I messed up again and got a paddling. Well, that led into throughout that year, I got 39 paddlings.
That was your first boot camp, Marine Corps drill sergeant. Wasn't that tough?
Like,
You'd have got whooped 39 times.
Like so bad to where, you know, my teacher would come in and I'd be like, you having a bad day, Miss Miller? She's like, yeah, don't start with me today. I was like, you want to go out in the hall and just let some steam off? She's like, you know what? Yeah, let's do that, Trent.
Come on. Let's go and get out of the way, Trent.
Yeah. She leaves the classroom one day and she's like, do not turn that TV on, Trent. And I'm like, Miss, I'm not going to. As soon as she leaves, Allie Devon gets up, turns the TV on, starts doing that. And I'm like, you know what? She comes back in. Trent, get out in the hall. I'm like, okay. All right, fine. So I took it. I was innocent.
You was taking up for the girl.
One of the girls got it because she knew I would. She knew I'd sit there and take it.
That's so good.
Because I was like, this is going to make them laugh. And it's not my dad whooping me because it hurt, but it's like.
It wasn't like, yeah.
No. So I was like, this is just, yeah. So I mean, from the time I can remember, I always enjoyed making people laugh and did whatever I could within reason to accomplish that goal. And so when social media became a thing and I started utilizing it, I just, you know, went full-fledged.
Dude, it worked out. Them paddlings paid off if you think about it.
Like, that's right. You're right about boot camp. That was my testing grounds, you know. That's where I really started developing some skill there.
Exactly. Now, how was your dad? Like, how was your dad or the men in your life when it come to some bully or somebody picking on you or laid hands on you, where now, you know, obviously any school, I mean, you just got to go rat them out and like, he hit me. How was your dad on that kind of stuff? I
got suspended twice for fighting in high school. And one time I started it, shouldn't have been doing it. And I was old enough. He made me go to work right after. But the time before that, and I was raised, you know, you get pushed, you push back harder.
Yeah.
You know, somebody hits you, you hit them back.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't care what the school board says. You know, but he was very much just of the traditional, don't start it, but you have my permission to always finish it.
Yes.
Or take up for someone that's getting bullied.
Mm-hmm.
You'll never get in trouble here if you do that. So the first time I got suspended, I had a guy come up behind me and start swinging. We had gotten into it at a birthday party the weekend before. And he come up behind me and started swinging, and me and him went to fighting. And so I got suspended, but everything was on camera. And Daddy, you know, Mr. Blackley called Daddy up there, and he's like, well, Trent's done gotten into a fisticuff, and, you know, he didn't start it. We got it on camera and everything. And so Daddy just picked me up and went home. I had a 3-day vacation, essentially, you know, because I took up for myself.
Right. You wasn't in trouble with your dad, because you were defending yourself.
And the only question he asked after that was, he said, well, did you win? And I said, well, I think so.
I feel like I did. I mean,
I think so. You know, you'll have to ask around, but yeah, I mean, he was very, 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 you know, just traditional in that sense, exactly how you would think. But I mean, my dad too, and all of my family, especially on my dad's side, very loud, loved to laugh.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, which goes along with a lot of crazy too. I could tell you some crazy stories. I mean, his dad got circumcised when he was in his 50s. Okay?
Are you serious? I don't think I've ever heard of that.
Oh, yeah. That's my first stand-up. I told this story. See, my granddaddy, when he was in his 50s, he got drunk because they got kicked off some leased land. So he got pissed drunk and got mad at the fella. So he went to his house at night and locked his horses up in his barn and burnt the barn down. So jumped the ditch on the way out to his car and broke both his ankles and crawled back to his car, drove himself to the hospital. And when he got in there, he said, well, since y'all got me in here, why don't you go ahead and circumcise me?
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah.
That's happened one time in the world.
Yeah, Daddy said he walked in there and he had on leopard print bikini underwear. I mean, this guy didn't bathe unless he went to the hospital. You hear what I'm telling you, Michael?
Right.
Like I'm talking about, his son gun had toenails. That sounded like when you cut them at the hospital, sound like 22's going off.
Oh, my goodness.
My uncle used to cut them with horse shears.
Oh, my big old crusty ones.
But, oh, yeah, man. I mean, his son gun was a character.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, man, my family, I mean, it's just, you go to my grandmother's house, my daddy's mama, and it was loud. She'd come out there, hey, everything. And there was never a dull moment. Everybody loved to laugh. We'd always, when we go to my mama's house in Olive Branch, Mississippi, for Thanksgiving, Christmas, whatever, we'd go up there. And every time, the first night, we'd watch one of the 2 VHS tapes they had of James Gregory.
Oh, God, yeah, he was so
and
funny.
We would laugh, and my step-grandfather, he would cry. He'd laugh, and he'd
laughing.
That's how he laughed. And we'd laugh at him.
You get laughing
God
at him
rest his
laughing.
soul. He died 3 or 4 months ago. Good man. But we just love to laugh, man.
Yeah.
So that was bred into me pretty deep,
We're going to stop for a quick break, but please don't go anywhere. We got so much to come.
A wingman flies close with unwavering dedication. At Folds of Honor, a wingman stands with families of America's fallen or disabled heroes. The burial flag given to their grieving family is folded 13 times. As a wingman, your $13 monthly donation provides scholarships to their spouses and children. 13 folds, $13. Become a wingman. Join today at foldsofhonor.org. Spandau Arms was founded with a simple idea. The best part of hunting isn't the gear, it's the memories. From the first rooster rise of the season in the tall grass to the last second opportunity on the target buck as sunset closes in. Spandau believes firearms should be built to perform, priced to be accessible, and designed to become an essential piece of your hunting story. Their lineup includes field-ready shotguns and precision-driven rifles built for hunters, competitors, and recreational shooters who know that quality and dependability matter more than the hype. Born from the experience of American hunters and crafted by generations of gunmakers, each Spandau firearm is built for real-world performance in the moments that matter.
Golly, man. It makes you wonder, like, how some of these households live without laughter. It's almost like you laugh through the good times, the tough times. And I don't know, man. I feel like there's, when you look at even the sarcasm and the cutting on each other, I feel like, like I remember when we was in school, everything was so, in one way, very mean to a degree. Like I remember growing up, your mama so fat jokes. I mean, there's some of the meanest stuff, or I cut you down so low. Yeah. I heard Jim Brewer was doing some of those mama so fat, and I remember I started laughing like, your mama's so fat. They took a picture of her Christmas and they're still developing, Christmas Eve the next year or something. And stuff like, what was that one? Your mama's so fat. God said, let there be light. Can your mom step aside?
Can she move?
Yeah, she moved. I mean, that was like, that was, if you was in 6th grade, you had something like that up your sleeve. Yeah. I heard one, my dad said, my cousin Billy Wayne told him the other day, said, man, you remember old Mildred down there? I said, you remember her? I said, hell, she was so cross-eyed. She said when she cried, tears rolled down her back.
That's pretty good. I ain't heard that. That's pretty good right there.
That might make the county road show there.
That's right.
I ain't never heard a stand-up say that, but Billy Wayne had You know, but those characters like Billy Wayne, for instance, I have never been around all our crew anytime Billy Wayne, Waddell, just the name alone, like some of these people you grew up around, when you hear the name Billy Wayne,
I've
Waddell.
used Billy Wayne in a skit before, just the name.
Did you really?
Absolutely.
And this guy's name was Billy Wayne Waddell, and more likely Billy Wayne will listen to this. I remember Billy Wayne this wasn't too long ago. I always liked fast cars, and he drove up to my house, and he had a bout with cancer, and it wasn't looking good. He's doing great. This was maybe last year. He's doing good now in his remission, doing well. And he said, Michael, look, buddy, he said, I got a couple things I'm going to ask of you. He said, I want you to be a pallbearer at my funeral. I said, Billy Wayne, no, I'm not, because you're not dying. Don't come over here. Well, I got to plan my funeral. And he said, also, I want you to read this note. And it was this note that this kid had wrote him about, when I grow up, I want to be Billy Wayne Waddell, cleaning out the ditches in an old souped-up Chevelle. And he said, that kid, that meant the world. This kid wanted to be like me. I want you to read that. And I said, well, Billy, this is too early. This is two more, but I don't want to talk about that. Let's fight this cancer. And he said, I'm 72 or something. I forgot what he said his age was at the time. I said, Billy Wayne, I don't want to talk of that stuff. He said, well, listen, you got my commitment. You're going to read the note and be a pallbearer at my funeral? I said, I will commit to that, but I'm just telling you, I'm not writing it down, but you got my word. And so he went to turn. He said, also, I want Nick Munt and T-Bone to be a pallbearer at my funeral too. I said, well, Billy Wayne, I said, you met Nick, but you ain't even met T-Bone. I said, hell, T-Bone ain't got but one leg. He can't tote your casket. He said, well, you know what? I said, you don't even know him, Billy Wayne. He said, well, I know this. I want somebody famous carrying me. And so it's always something. And then he turned around. The next time I saw him, he sees my wife, Christy. And Christy's a real beautiful woman. I mean, obviously I'm biased, but she's beautiful. And old Billy Wayne, he's one of those old, ladies' man. Yeah. My God, girl, you are beautiful. You know, he just all talking smack to my wife, you know, and no harm. And he's like, oh, buddy. He said, no wonder you got so many kids, you know. And he's just talking all this nonsense, you know. Yeah. And he said, I tell you, Mike, he said, you know, you'll never get tired of it. He said, but I can tell you right now, he said, before my brother Leon died, he told me, he said, you know, Billy, I done got older. He said, I don't even hardly want it no more with my wife. He said, just every once in a while. He said, just every once in a while I want it. Once in the morning and a while in the evening. So I think that's why when I hear your stuff, I think you had Billy Wayne's in your life, and I'm hearing that you had these cousins and uncles and stuff. And like I said, that ain't a joke they stole. That's them full of crap and saying stuff all the time, and whether you liked it or it offended you. And he would talk to the preacher that way in the church. I mean, he was just, they were so unbelievable, real, and secure in who they were, like it or not. And I don't know, I'm kind of thankful. I'm not saying who's right or wrong in their humor or Billy Wayne and what he might have said that could offend somebody. But one thing I respected right away is men that could be comfortable in being who they were. They didn't have no hidden personality. You know, where you see all this stuff now, whether it's a politician or whatever it might be, and what you thought you saw the whole time was a completely different version. And one thing I always realized too, whatever they got caught in, well, they took accountability in it, you know? Yeah. And so anyway, it's don't even know why I got down that subject, but in the humor and just I think we were both blessed to be around just some true characters. And I think some of these guys were just bigger than life. I mean, they were in their own right. Who's to say they couldn't have been a Chappelle if they had figured out how to just somehow write it down and go up there and perform for 30 minutes at a time. And the more I've talked to some of these comedians, you know, specifically, you know, people like Foxworthy and stuff, you find that they draw, like Bernie Mac. I mean, he was old vulgar comedian, but Bernie Mac, that's all he did was tell these stories of basically growing up in his black culture around
About them
these
kids.
people and them kids. and if you think about it, it was never really a punchline other than the way he reacted or
Yeah.
way some. And dude, I could sit there and just like, this dude is so brilliant. Way he could tell a story, you know?
Yeah.
Or what's the other comedian? Oh my goodness. You know, woo, or the Leadbetters, you know, they over from Alabama. Jerry Clower.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, Jerry Clower.
That's
I mean,
from
never
Liberty,
said a cuss
Mississippi.
word. Yeah, Mississippi. Yeah.
Liberty, Mississippi, down there at
and tell
Yazoo.
it, you know, shoot up amongst them. One of us needs some rest.
Man, I think, of course, I'm not a historian, so don't quote me on much of this. And I can't speak for the rest of the country, but I know for the South back long time ago, you know, I feel like comedy is really born through trauma. And, you know, Southern people have been known to be funny, have our sayings and stuff like that. Yeah. Which you go to the inner city, a lot of these comedians too that come up from the inner city had a hard life growing up. A lot of them are the same
Brilliantly
way. Brilliant.
Funny.
They don't sound like us, but they funny and everything else. Yeah. And so, because I remember all my family, grandparents, and I never had I don't have a grandparent that grew up well-to-do. Mm-hmm. Every one of them sharecropped, broke, poor as a racer snake. Mm-hmm. And you would hear all these sayings. My grandfather he'd just come up with these sayings, you know. And I mean, every time he'd get out of jail, you know, because he'd whoop mama or something like that, and he'd go and sweet talk the guards while he was there. And he was a great ball player, great basketball player. So everybody knew Jim Ellis, you know, from Belden, Mississippi, Tupelo, Mississippi. And, but Daddy said every time he'd get out, he'd say, feel like a bird out of a cage, you know? I mean, just random goofy stuff like that. I mean, and just, but all that stuff, I mean, he had a worse life than what he gave my dad, you know? And so I think when you just are around a culture in the South that's prominent for that, especially early 1900s, it was just poor. Mm-hmm. You know, real poor. Everybody, black, white, didn't matter. Yeah,
it wasn't no skin color. It's just you either broke or maybe you had a little change in your pocket.
Daddy said the people that were wealthy when he was coming up in school had deer rifles. Mm-hmm. He said everybody back in the 70s, 60s, 70s, 80s hunted with shotguns. Yeah. He said if you had a deer rifle, he said you had money.
That's right.
And so everybody was brought up like that. You know, well, everybody, it's kind of like in the Marine Corps too. That's another, I think, thing that goes into, you know, my comedy is the fact that you go through things, you see things and all this kind of stuff. And that's where that dark humor comes in. You have to laugh. You have to look at something, see something, do something, whatever the case, and then joke about it. And it's not good at all, but it's what keeps you going. You know what I'm saying?
I completely get that. What's the old saying? You got to laugh to keep from crying.
Exactly.
And I saw that. Yeah. You know, I know you was in the Marine Corps in active theater over there when I think it was, you know, Iraq and all that was the war was going there. And I remember we had I'd been around some athletic kind of dark humor. You know, somebody twist an ankle and you know it was never any. Hey, buddy, hope you do well. You know, you'd get the, hey, man, you'll be back next game. But it was usually something like, girl, I'm going to take your girlfriend. You know, like, you done busted that ankle up. You know, you ain't going to need them shoes. I won't get your cleats. You know, It was always something. You kind of giggle and somebody's over there about in tears because they wondering where they're going to be able to play or whatever. But the first time I saw the dark military humor, as I went over there with a couple of people from the hunting industry, and we went to the hospital in Germany where the first you know, the tough situations, IEDs exploded or gunshot wounds. And luckily when we went there was only 2 patients there. So it had been a pretty peaceful time for the American soldiers where there wasn't a lot, but there was one particular guy, he had been, he had been, you know, got hit with an IED. And I remember when we got there, we went in there and Armed Forces Entertainment was like, hey, you know, these guys in the hunting industry, and they said, man, we got a guy over here, you know, he's from Missouri, and he had an IED. He said, I'm pretty sure he's a hunter, you know, and so I'm there. Ryan Kolesko, who played with Atlanta Braves, and so we go in there, and there's a couple other people in our group, and as we was walking in, there was another fellow soldier that was there to visit his friend, his comrade. And so the guy immediately, he was a hunter. He wasn't from Missouri. I forget where he's from. He said, man, Michael Waddell, what you doing over here, dude? And I was like, man, good. I said, good to meet you. I said, man, we're just here. He said, well, thank y'all for being here. I told him kind of our tour and where we were going and the bases. And I said, we're obviously not Beyonce. I brought turkey calls and some stuff from home and, just going to hang out and at the chow line. And, I think we're going to watch some videos and stuff. He said, dude, are you kidding me, man? I wish I was coming by where I'm at. And I said, man, we're just walking in here. I said, we're just going to go in there and see your buddy. Is he a hunter? He said, yeah, he's a hunter. So he walks in, and I'll never forget, he was there all bandaged up, and his face had been burned real bad. Mm-hmm. And I remember he said something like, Jesus, dude. He said, you look like shit. and he said, dude, I'm finally better looking than you. And the guy was in so much pain, and he was trying to laugh. And I remember me, and I'm certainly sarcastic.
Yeah.
And it hit, man, I swear to you, almost started crying, like literally almost started crying and he was high-fiving and hugging him and just, but I eat through that, those things that, like you said, wasn't right. Yeah. But it was right for the moment. And you could tell, man, I just saw something that I hadn't seen like that. And dude, I got totally like tears in my eyes seeing them two, combat veterans that had been through hell and high water mentally and his buddy physically, not knowing what the physical injuries this soldier had. And dude, I just sat there in complete amazement of watching them interact and that love, but yet still just the kicking and sarcasm. And the guy said something back, sarcastic, or like, I can still take your girl, something like I'm still better looking than you with a jacked up face. And I remember just thinking, these are real men, and this is love right here. Yeah. And a lot of people would not understand that. And so you're right, but through the hardest times in their life, the guy had his life. He wasn't dead. It looked like he was going to make a full recovery, but completely physically injured to the point to where the rest of his life he's dealing with those physical injuries, not counting the mental. And to see that from his fellow soldier, that it took leave to come all the way there to see him, there's love. And so that taught me something. That taught me something there about what hard love is and how just to break it back down and to, and I think that's where a lot of those old sayings and sarcasm comes from. Maybe, I don't know. It's almost, it's a weird, tough way of encouragement too. I don't know. So.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
that's it, man. It's I've got some buddies of mine that I serve with that, I keep in touch with a couple of them. We never did hug while we was in. If we were drunk, we would hug or something like that, we'd fight and then we'd hug and all that kind of stuff. But, being on a serious note, there was never any of that. It was always just dark humor, joking around.
Hard,
and then I mean, I remember my second deployment, me and everybody on my fire team, we all had fiancés. Mm-hmm. And then when we came back, we didn't have fiancés because, we'd break up. I mean, everything. We were young kids, Right. I mean, anybody you get engaged to at 18 years old, there's a great chance it doesn't work out.
Especially being gone for 2 years.
Yeah, exactly. And of course, that there was nobody that would that was sitting there. It's okay, buddy. It's okay. No. It's like they just scroll on their phone.
No.
He's probably the one right now. He's probably
dude.
With
look at this dude. Who's with your girl right here?
He's so much better looking than you. I would have done that.
You can't blame her, man.
Yeah. But while you're in it, that's kind of the deal. And then when you get out and you grow up and you mature, and a couple of those guys, we talk every time. Hey, love you, bro. One of my buddies, and you should, because about 2 weeks ago, my squad leader on that deployment, he was a gunny, and not then, he was corporal then, but he was a gunny as of 2 weeks ago, and he shot himself. Hadn't talked to him, literally have not talked to him in 11 years. After I got off that deployment, he went to MSG, Marine Security Guard. I think Jackson was MSG too, your CEO. But, he went there, and then I went on my last deployment and transitioned out, got out, and just didn't keep in contact. Thought about him a bunch.
Right.
And thought about, and I don't think he ever had social media or anything like that. Never could get in touch with him, but I would always random memories come back. You know, he was
Man, I wonder what he's doing. Yeah.
Yeah, because he was one of those guys too that I remember him sticking up for me against my platoon sergeant one time for something. I always remembered that, and I always respected him for that. But you know, me and Lopez one day, he just walked by the guard shack and said something. And this was a big dude. He was like your height, but about 50 pounds heavier than you, nothing but muscle. 10 years older than me. He joined the Marines late.
Wow. Yeah.
And I was 20 and he was 30. And he said something to me, and I think I had just gotten promoted. So we were even. And we had known each other for a while, and we just started hitting each other right there. And a colonel come up on the post. He's like, "Oh, Marines, you better quit that," you know, and everything. We're laughing. Of course, we got a little bit of trouble, you know, slap on the wrist.
He quickly realized, just joshing around.
You know, but yeah, I mean, and that's you kind of go back to those memories, I guess, is, you know, thinking about that stuff. And that's one thing that I wish I would have done better was, you know, just check in with folks.
I know, man.
You know, check in with folks and just see how they're doing. You talked about that earlier.
It's so hard, and there's such an odd, you know, guilt that comes with that in a case like you experienced with your fellow soldier there. Golly, it's like you just, you know, like, man, what if I could have just got in touch with him? What if I could have invited him over here for a Sunday dinner or just talk with him or gave him one of those dark humor jokes? Could have been. Oh yeah. I know, man. That's that's a tough situation.
I guarantee you, if I could have called him and been like, if you're going to do it, use a 45.
Yes, that would have.
If I could have talked to him and if he'd have told me he was going through and he'd have laughed and he'd still be here, you know.
I saw a thing. It was is it Shia LaBeouf? What's the guy who was in Transformer? He's a famous actor.
Shia
LaBeouf or something. You know, he's
yeah.
had all kind of tough things and been through this and that and alcohol, drugs, and he was actually talking about Jesus and stuff. And he said that it's funny you said that dark humor. He said that he one night had committed to you know, offing himself. He said, "I'd committed to it 100%. So I called one of my friends and just told him, said, "I'm done with this life. It's over. I'm ending it tonight." It, you know, on and on and on. He said, and when I got through telling him that, I was expecting him to say, you know, "Dude, don't," or whatever. He said, because that wouldn't have changed it. And he said, "Well, text me in the morning. You won't be able to get it done. Just text me in the morning." He said, and I was so mad that anger, because all I kept wanting to do was see him in the morning to jump, just to. So you
what
know,
kind of friend are you?
Yeah, what kind of friend are you? He said the anger of his comments saved my life. And it's funny. So somebody listening might like, what the heck is Trent and Waddell talking about? But you know, that's funny. Men work different. And I'm not saying every man is that way, but we're that way. I mean, you look at my best friends and in our group text, you would think we hate each other. It's rough stuff. Like stuff that I wouldn't want E-Entertainment to get. It's not super insane or like
it's not Epstein
list
evil.
Stuff. No, it's not Epstein list. No, it's just, man, if don't miss a deer or don't screw up, don't lose a girlfriend or don't or don't have a certain situation that you're ashamed of because you're gonna get it double fold, you know. Yeah. And I'm kind of glad it's that way because it puts a little, as our dad say, we're grit in your crawl. Yeah. And speaking of that, what's one of my favorite things to do, especially when I'm talking to guys like you. You ever think of those old sayings, those little things like "little grit in your crawl"? Like, well, you know, what's a grit in your crawl? Or those old sayings, or you know, like Blake Shelton and I was talking. We did a whole little deal talking about, you know, describing how hard it's raining outside. Can you think of any of those that just stuck with you?
I can't. You threw me on the spot.
That's on the spot. Like
some of the stuff I could say would be non-producible, so we won't say that.
Yeah.
But no.
One that hit me the other day, and my pawpaw, and I'll say it the clean version, but my pawpaw come up to me one day, and I was trying to dam up a creek or something. I was doing something that was above what I was going to be able to accomplish. and he stuttered real bad, and I never forget. And he said, now, boy, you don't get your pecker tied in a knot. What does that mean to a 9-year-old kid trying to dam up a creek?
Yeah.
Or like, what does that mean? Or just, there's so many. Again, as soon as we're done, we'll think of 1,000.
Exactly.
But there was always those, things or,
My dad would say, he would say things like useless as tits on a boar hog. That's
a great
famous.
one.
Yeah.
That's a great one.
Yeah. And he would say, what was the other one that he would do? Oh gosh. I'm gonna mess it up. It's God gave you God. What did he say? Well, no, he'd say God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason, but he would say things like, shoot, if he wanted to, oh crap. I'm messing it up because it was something about, it was something about if he wanted you to do this, it'd give you 2 buttholes instead of 1 or something like that. He's like, those old saying, which makes no sense, but he'd say, if you're not going to use your head, you might as well have 2 buttholes. Yeah. Why? Where'd that come from? What?
Well, another super confusing as a kid that I heard, like I was like, boy, I'm happy to see you, or something, or I remember old timers saying like, man, was old Mary happy to see you? She was happy in a 3-peckered dog. and I had no idea. Like, one is this a female? She was, how can she?
Yeah, make it real funny, 3-peckered billy goat.
And first of all, again, I hadn't had to talk about the birds and the bees. I don't have a clue what this metaphor. And then later on, it hits me.
Yeah, and I think that's why a lot of Southern kids grow up faster.
I think so, because
when
you're
they're
trying
like
to
9,
figure this
you can
out.
have a conversation and them understand what you. And they're just not as sheltered as much because there's those old sayings like a 3-peckered dog, happy as a 3-peck. Well, what does that mean? Well, son, let me tell you. All right, only thing better than having 1 be having 3 and a place to put them. You know what I mean?
What was the one? I saw a guy the other day who was talking about he does social media. I can't think of his name. I've met him a couple of times, but he's got all them grandpa sayings. And he said? Southern
Grandpa, Justin Stagner.
Justin.
That's who I'm opening for next week.
Justin is funny too, man.
Yeah.
And it's so cool that y'all doing stuff together, same humor. What's one heard he said the other day? He said, my grandpa saying that girl been cocked more than John Wayne's rifle.
That's a good one right there.
That was pretty good. That's pretty bad. But again, that's
I don't care who you are. That's funny right there.
Funny.
All right.
And what's
Larry
funny?
The Cable Guy.
Yeah, it was. And what's funny is you'd hear that stuff, and it's obviously got a dirty undertone, but when you hear it as a kid, it makes no sense.
Yeah, and you're just laughing because these 3 old men are laughing, so you're laughing.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I remember. That. Papa always, I'd never forget, it was, and I'd hear my dad say these same things, and obviously you carry on those old sayings, but like, I remember a big one my papa always say too, is like, how you feeling, Owen? Like, I feel like a turd rolled in cracker crumbs. I mean, that just don't feel good. Or I heard him, or something had happened. I remember, one time he was putting up his electric fence and he was trying to drive the post and hit his thumb. He said, cat shit and onion gravy. I mean, where did they come up with that? And I'm thinking,
I don't know, man.
I need to go on tour with y'all, man. I want to write.
Dude, oh man, we'd either get nothing done or a lot done.
Yeah. He also, another thing he used to say too, he was always talking about, on one regard, he would talk about, boy, it ain't never, I don't care how bad it is, it could always be worse.
Right.
But on the flip side of that, he was always talking about how terrible he felt. I remember, because he'd say, how you feeling today, Papa? He said, he said, I feel like a pinch of shit in a cantaloupe patch. Like, is it a powder? Is it a pinch? And I'm sitting there just trying to put together. We don't have a cantaloupe patch.
What about what you up to? About 210. About 210. That's what Papa would always say.
About 210.
What's going on, Pop? What you up to? About 210, son. You know, I remember as a kid, like, what does that even mean? Then growing up, oh, wait.
I'm almost hoping, Trent, and this is one reason I love your humor and love what you're doing with the culture, because you know what I'm afraid of is, like, there's so much for us to pass down, and I'm thinking about all these characters, right, and the things that they said. I hope that one day, we got some things that we say, you know, that are just funny and witty, that kind of resonate, that never grow old. Like I heard Steve Hornady of Hornady Ammunition. I went to this big party at a 75th anniversary of Hornady Ammunition, and we get there, and there's probably 300 or 400 people there. Come to find out, they all work for Hornady Ammunition. There were some people from the city there in Nebraska where they work out of. And I walked up Steve Hornady, and he's in his 70s, and I said, Steve, I said, how many people do you have work for you? He said, about half of them. and I sat there, it took me about 10 seconds. Like, I was sitting there like, I thought and it hit me like, all of them, only about half of them work. It was like, it took me a while to hit me, and I'm thinking, God, I hope, even though we're getting to be unks and getting a little older, I was like, I hope we can come up with cool little snazzy sayings that our kids will remember. So if nothing else, we can pass down the ones Grandpa and Dad told us.
Really, the thing that I want to pass down is the way of life.
Yes.
You know, I heard, I can't remember who it was. Maybe it was Will Primos or somebody, but I mean, it was just the way of life. And the way that I do skits and everything, talking about the upbringing and joking about all that, it's so taboo in our society now, even in the South. A lot of things. You talking about whipping kids, people start pumping the brakes. Pumping the brakes, you know. And I want to bring that old culture back to where it's never going to be mainstream, but let it not be forgotten, you know? And, so in all my skits, just trying to be, like I said earlier, relatable, and just put that way of life out there that people are honestly a lot of times afraid to talk about in public, you know, because of who it might offend or something like that. I want that to be, you know, let's get back to that. You know, let's get back to those days. Let's get back to calling people out. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Like, I think one of the best scenes in any movie ever was Lonesome Dove, with Tommy Lee Jones rode up on that horse and started beating that boy with the horse shears for whooping up on Newt. That was his son. Ooh, and he beat him to up, and Gus nearly killed him, and Gus saved him, you know? Yeah. But, you know, if we had more men in our country that were willing to ride up on that horse when something was going down that shouldn't be, and handle business like that, we'd be a much better country.
We sure would, instead of pulling out your phone and videoing it.
That's exactly right.
And you're seeing that. You're seeing that in the youth, and you're seeing that in grown men. It's like, you know, you fight so much for these movements, you know, whether it's a feminist movement, which we all agree on, but what I always get nervous is, where is the man who still thinks there is a separation of a man and woman, and they think the woman is more valuable, as they are. And the house catches on fire, and they would be willing to burn up versus any woman, whether it's, you know, nose ring, purple hair, liberal, whatever their ideology are. You know, a true man is going to always put more value on that woman or kid. And I think some of that in these circumstances and situation is changing the circumstance. And I saw a stat the other day on the Titanic, you know, and back then, you know, culturally, you know, you had the rich, the poor, your first class to basically poverty level, you know, sleeping on the steel, I assume, down in the very bottom of the Titanic. Slumming it, you know, whatever, all the way up to the, you know, suits and ties every day and fine course meals, and the guy playing the cello and violin, you know, and you know, and so, and I think that movie shows that with Leonardo, who was down here and kind of fell in love with I forget the actress's name, but anyway, at the end of the day, if you look at the true stats, even though there was a financial differences in a lot of those men, predominantly men died. Most of the women and the children, most of them got off. They still was some fatalities, obviously, in the women and children, but nothing was on your financial status. You was either a man, woman, or child, and so no matter how rich you were,
Women and children first.
Women and children first.
Yeah.
To where maybe prior to that, they could have been a smug old rich guy that was like, who is this woman or who is this kid interrupting our caviar and escargot that could have been a smug jerk. But in the time of life and death, it seemed that a huge majority, I'm sure not all, but stood up. And I think that now, in one way, you got more equality than you ever have, but I almost think you don't have equal moral compass or grit within the men that would sacrifice himself for a perfect stranger woman, possibly, where I wasn't raised that way. If I walk up and, and I see a woman getting beat, I'm not going to video. I mean, even if she might have deserved some reprimand, no man should lay hands on a woman. And so, my natural instinct as a man is to come to her shelter. I don't know.
Here's you a controversial clip that you can use. I believe men and women have different roles.
I do too.
I have a daughter. If my daughter came to me and said, I'm joining the Marines and I'm going into the infantry, I'd say, you have no business doing that.
I agree with that.
Do that.
I agree with that completely.
And that's where I believe when we start saying things like that doesn't exist. Because see, I was in a unit that was all male, and my second year in that unit, because it was a combat unit, my second year in that unit, we were under Obama, and they were pushing out all these initiatives that we were going to flood all these infantry units and combat units with females because we need diversity. All right. Well, in order to be field ready and be combat efficient, you had to take a crew serve 50 cal, okay, which is literally, or the lower receiver of it, which I don't know how much it weighed. I'm going to say probably 50, 60 pounds. You had to be able to pick that up and hand that to the guy in the turret. To simulate, you're in combat, the gun goes down, he hands it to you or whatever the case.
Yeah.
And, you can grab a lower receiver of a 50 cal and hand it to the machine gunner up there behind the turret and him put it in the turret and get to rolling. All right. We didn't have one female in our unit that could do that. Not one.
Right. Not
one. So now, because of some initiative, we have put everybody's life in danger, and we've got a liability right here. All right. And I'm sure when it comes to the 3-letter agencies, special operations, I am sure that they play a very significant role in counterterrorism and stuff like that. I know they do.
Yeah, sure.
I know they do. But when it comes down to the basic, like if we're drawing a line of generalization here, all right, there's a difference between a man and a woman.
Significant difference.
And we can't be so stupid to say there's no difference because, one girl out of 85,000 of them can do that. Or what? That's not a statistic. I'm just exaggerating here.
Right.
But that's my point, is that we're saying no, we can't disassociate anybody, and say that they're different or that they can't do this or can't do that. And it's nonsense.
It is nonsense.
It's nonsense all the way down to questioning who can go in a freaking bathroom. Are you kidding me?
It makes zero sense. Like, it's no logical sense. Like,
Yeah. We used to say 20 years ago, I remember still seeing somebody weird and people go, don't listen to them. They're weird.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, yes, they're idiots.
He can't get right. Don't listen to that.
Yeah. He's going to say some off the wall stuff, buddy.
Yeah.
All right. But he's an idiot.
Yeah.
We quit saying that. And we're like, well, I've never thought about it that way. I guess I could be a woman with a pecker,
Yeah, I guess so.
I mean, you know what I'm saying?
I guess so.
Like,
I mean, is that
and now we appoint them as judges and all this kind of crazy crap. Like, we need to get back to the point. I'm not saying bully, but I'm just saying, you need to be able to say, hey, son, daughter, whatever, that person's an idiot. All right, we're not going to listen to them. And when they stand up at a forum and say, I believe that children should have litter boxes in our school system for the ones that want to be cats, I feel like somebody in the vast majority should stand up and say, sit down, shut up.
Yes.
And everybody behind the board go, I second that motion. Sit down and
That's
shut up.
right.
You know, quit being stupid.
Yeah.
Instead of we need to listen
yes.
to everybody. No, we don't.
No, we don't.
No, we don't.
Where did having an open mind, which honestly, people might think me and you wouldn't have an open mind, but I have a very open mind and I do have empathy. But that doesn't mean you lose all logic.
No.
You don't lose complete logic.
No, I'm going to tell you where a lot of open-mindedness sends you is straight to hell.
It's straight to hell.
All right, guys, I'm a firm believer. Look, I am a firm believer in the Bible. I'm a firm believer in God. And I believe it when it says, you know, few will walk down the path of righteousness.
I believe that. Yeah.
All right. And when we allow people to say the things they say and push the agendas that they push, that all comes from Satan. Most of it, you know, that's just outlandish, crazy and stuff like that. And it shouldn't be in the United States of America. It should not be wrong to say that's wrong because God says it's wrong.
Well,
and not only that, if you're not even a Christian, you can look, like you said, logically, you don't need a litter box in the high school bathrooms.
No, you don't.
They should go to alternative school.
They should go to the litter.
Yeah, and it's sad because those kids that do that right there, they ain't got no home life.
They ain't got no home
life.
They ain't got no
home
life.
I said, Mom and Daddy ain't worth nothing.
I have empathy. I have empathy for them, but at the same time, you know, I have also empathy for my cousin who went out and makes $20,000 a year and bought an Escalade and a house over here in the subdivision. It's like, well, that was dumb, buddy.
Yeah,
you shouldn't have done that. I mean, you didn't make enough.
I just ain't making enough money. The government all paid me.
I'm trying to do a little fundraiser, a little GoFundMe because my wife's gonna lose Escalade. Like, no,
truck payment.
Life ain't fair, and it's definitely not kind to idiots. And so another thing, this sounds petty. I agree with you on the Christian and biblical sense of things. But I also feel like, because me and you both discussed, I did not get good marks in 5th and 6th grade, really none of my life. And I definitely didn't get good on figuring out my punctuation. And, you know, so many times as Southerners, it's y'all, is it you all, is it he or they? And now I want to go back, if we can have to confuse whether it's he, they, him, she, you, whatever it is, then I want my 5th grade teacher to move all my F's up to A's because I could have been correct.
Yeah.
Who knows? How does she know that it wasn't she goes to the store? It could have been they. Yeah. According to today. How does any game warden give me a ticket for shooting a hen turkey when I could say, well, maybe it identified as a gobbler? I'm just saying.
I think if you'd have gone to school today, you could have possibly had a scholarship to go to Harvard.
I think I could have.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, you were failing high school back in the day, but nowadays, I mean,
maybe I would have been
you could have identified that F as an A and a 4.0 and gone straight to Yale.
Well, I know it looks like an F, but I felt it was an A for effort.
Yeah. I
had a lot of
and none
college.
Of my teachers were born again believers because anytime I didn't know something, I just wrote Jesus, and they did not accept that. So.
Can I go ahead while we kind of a little bit griping, because I know we've been talking a long time. And another thing that I want to do, and I want to go on a Change American-ness. Like I had kids, now I got my 5th youngin' I'm raising. He's now in 3rd grade. Can these teachers?
You know what causes that?
I'm telling you, dude, man. That's one reason I'm keeping grinding, man.
You don't pull out of nothing but your driveway, do you? Good Lord have mercy.
There we go.
Yeah, I stole that from a buddy of mine when I was in the garden
pull
with.
Out your driveway, boy.
He told me that one time.
You better tell my wife that one. Man, look, I got thinking is what in the world? I send my youngins to school. I drop them off about 7:45 every morning. Mm-hmm. Pick him up about 3:30 every day. And then guess what he's got every night? Homework. My question is, what in the hell was he doing? Like, when I get through with work, now, obviously, we're in business for ourselves. We still answer calls. You got up early this morning. Mm-hmm. Come over here to do this podcast. You're going to have a late night. But most of the time, those teachers get home, and I know they got to grade papers, but why don't you just teach my kid to school? I don't need to build him a volcano because that's just work for daddy. So I got a gripe. And it's petty. Yeah. It's petty, and I'm not beating up on the teachers, but enough of the homework. I think it's time for them kids to get home and at least ride a dirt bike, dam up a creek. You know, okay, some of them go into ball practice. I'm all about that. They might want to sign up for wakeboard lessons with my buddy Ryan Wakening. Go let them do something else. Let a girl come
Yeah.
in and, you know,
Well,
learn to make cookies or something. Oh, you can't say girl make a cookie. Oh,
you can't have home ec, boy. That's sexist.
oh,
as all
dude,
get out.
I signed up for home ec because that's where all the hot girls were. Everybody taking welding. Like, I know how to weld. I want to learn how to
We'll
make
go bake a cake.
I'm gonna make a cookie. Shoot.
Yeah, man. I think if they could really revamp the entire system there, I mean, because like boys, it's been a big argument from day one. I mean, boys are not meant to sit in the classroom all day long.
No, they're not.
Most of them. Some of them excel, but most
Some
of
of 'em
them, like me, get in trouble.
You need to
know,
climb
but
a
it's like
tree.
you take me out to the ag shop and Mr. CW shows me a MIG welder and shows me how to weld, or that's where I really learned how to cut up deer. My ag shop there,
cutting
we
up
cut
stuff.
me and the ag teacher now he was a year under me, Matt Spradlin. Me and him were on the breakdown table, so we would cut up every day in meats. Took meats. You talking about a redneck school, son? We had a meats class.
Meats class.
And
I
all that
love
was free child labor. And we were down for it because we got knives and we got to take deer out of the cooler and put them on that breakdown table. And me and Matt would debone that son of a gun in about 5 minutes.
breaking
top flat.
roadkill in.
Yeah, we'd cut up 25, 30 deer a day for a whole semester.
See, that's
But
learning something.
And we never got in trouble. The only time we ever did, I cussed one time and was unloading fruit. And we were, I said something, and I said, I can't believe this. And about that time, felt like the hand of God come on the back of my neck right there, just bow. And I thought it was a buddy. So I dropped the fruit, and I reared back, and this Mr. CW's big old self right there. And he said, boy, if your mama heard you say that, she'd want me to do it again. I said, yes, sir. I picked
Yes,
up that
sir,
fruit
you're
and kept
right.
going.
Yes,
That's
sir.
the only time, though, but everything else, we were building stuff. We were learning trades. They had forestry there. You'd learn. I mean, you could leave Manatee High School back then in the ag class and go cut meat somewhere and be pretty dang good at it.
Be pretty good at it.
You know what I'm
I
saying?
love that. I wish we did more
I
of that.
ain't
in
never
school.
used the Pythagorean theorem.
Me either. I don't even know pie. What's pie? I mean, like the
Apple or blueberry?
three. Yeah, I think so. I know them. I can judge them. I can give a good judge on that.
If you knew how to make them, you can make a lot more money doing that than you could teaching people about pie.
Oh yeah, man! I'm telling you right now, I need to know how to count money and know what a regular clock hand when it's 2:15. I want to know. I don't need to know the digital. I want to learn that and sign my name in cursive. That's what I think.
If you got any college professors that listen to this, you don't after this.
No, I don't. I don't, but I don't think they're having as much fun as we do. We still get to go make a few skits and talk about turkey hunting and figure out where we're going to turkey hunt this year.
That's right.
Well, we have been talking a long time, and here's what's fun about this. I feel like I could talk another 2 or 3 hours, but before we do get off, Trent, where can everybody find you? Obviously, a lot. Millions have found you on your social media, but where can people find you and where are you going to be, man?
Everything on social media is my name, Trent Ellis. Mm-hmm. Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, Snapchat. I don't know what Snapchat is, actually. It's like TM Ellis 21 or what. I don't know. But Instagram is Trent_Ellis 21. And if it looks like me, with a blue check mark, you found it.
Yep.
So, and by the way, nobody's won a prize. Okay. There's nothing to collect. So if you get an account saying, hey, I'm going to send you some money or will you send me? It's not me. It's not me. Yeah.
Exactly.
I have people message me all the time. What do I win? I'm like, nothing.
I was wondering why you never paid up. I won something from you and you never paid up. I was like,
Well, we'll settle up after the podcast,
all right.
I guess.
Thought you got your pecker tied in a knot there. Oh, Trent. Hey, one thing before we get out of here, because by the time you get back home to mama, it's going to be late. And one thing I wanted to make sure that I got a beautiful, beautiful bottle of the Hilt. It's a Chardonnay, and this is some really nice, possibly get you out of the doghouse when you get home. And this is a gift of the podcast and the people, Mr. Crocky and them guys make this fine wine. So little gift back to your wife. I figured if you ended up getting a Hoyt bow, she wouldn't like you no better, but maybe a gift to the wife would be better suited.
Yeah.
Maybe
That's
use some
true.
hunting swag or
That's
something.
true. No, man.
Good for you, Trent.
I
Got to went over to the
appreciate
bone
that.
collector and got some hunting swag. I'm so
Yeah.
so happy for you.
Yeah. When I bring that in, she'll be like, oh, okay. Why don't you go back?
Yeah, why don't you go back? Yeah.
Yeah,
How come
yeah.
you didn't get 2 bottles?
Yeah. Well, no, man, thank you so much, Michael, for having me out here. I mean, this is literally a dream of mine, just to be sitting here talking to you and meeting, your staff, Cohen and Jackson and Ryan and everybody. I mean, it's no wonder after 30 years being in the industry, you're this successful. So God
thank
bless
you,
you,
man.
and I wish you more.
I say, hey, thank you, buddy. It means a lot. And thanks for being real and being fun. I enjoy everything you do. And it's even better. You always get excited and, hope when you meet people, they what you think they are, and you are that. And so to all Trent's followers and people that hear him here, I'm telling you, man, it's the real deal. And I can't wait to laugh. And can't wait. I told the Hayden, Alabama guys, maybe one day we're going to be able to share a hunting camp and go chase some critters. I don't know what it is, but something.
In the great words of Val Kilmer, say when.
Say when. I'm your Uncle Barry.
That's right.
Thank you, Trent. I appreciate
sir.
it, buddy.
Yes, sir.